see the last bat signal.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
That's good.
Alright, bat signals up. Double check Facebook here. What up, Brett? What up, Logan? Matt wasn't first this
I was not. No, as I was typing first. Right.
Let's go to our faces here. Faces are on the stream. Yeah.
Yo.
What's up, everybody? Everybody filing in here. Good to see y'all on the stream. We're gonna get rolling here. If y'all are ready to go ahead and hit record on your audition.
Recording. There we go.
It's episode
Test.
2 sugar to 55. 55. Test. Okay. Good here. Everybody rolling?
I am rolling, yes.
Rocking and rolling.
All right. We're going to do a little sync clap. It'll be 1, 2, 3 clap. Okay.
Okay.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right.
I've been practicing that.
You did great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You can tell that you've been practicing.
All right. So we're streaming. Everything's going out. Got my upgraded.
Looks good on my
software.
end.
Cool. All right. Without further ado, we'll just get this thing going. There we go.
Do it.
All right. What up, and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt. And joining us today is the super talented Mr. Joey Camacho.
Hey guys.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects, plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, topic ideas, artist suggestions. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, mograph.com, all the things. And you can send us email. It could be noob, it could be advanced. We'll try to do the best that we can and answer your questions. Love your ideas. This email comes from Frederick or Frederic. I don't know. I haven't heard it pronounced in my ear holes. Who was emailing actually about a project that he worked on. And the story is between man and machine, a versus mixing live action and 3D animation. He says he's really proud of this film because he did it with a lot of passion. And so we're going to post a link to that in the notes. You can check that out. We also had a question come in from somebody about the Houdini course and whether or not you can take it if you have the apprentice version, which that is absolutely a yes, you can take it. There are a couple limitations, and Mark chimed in on that a little bit. If you have
the limitations being that with the apprentice version, you can't export Alembic files.
Yeah.
But Mark was cool enough to export those Alembic files for us, so anyone using the apprentice version can still follow along.
Right.
It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome. So check that out. We got the Houdini course. Stop being afraid of Houdini. We've also got that new Unreal course out from Winbush. You got to check that out. Been getting really good reviews, and people are just barreling through it and getting into Unreal for the first time from a production angle, which is great. So
yeah, I mean, with all the Unreal stuff coming out, I've heard people saying that, if you're not at least stepping into it, there's just so much going on with it. It's hard to not get, if you're not in it, you're gonna get a little bit left behind.
You're gonna, even if you're not gonna be in it all the time, I think it's really good to learn it at least just a little bit, just to know your way around. So when something comes up having to do with Unreal, you kind of understand what's going on. And this is a great course for that because it's production oriented. You know, this isn't like programming or any of that kind of stuff. This is just like, there's a timeline. It looks like an NLE, and you get to learn about importing Alembic files, FBX files, all that kind of stuff back and forth. So make sure you check that out. And then I also wanted to give everybody a reminder that our Halloween episode is going to be on the 30th of October at noon Central. Make sure you join us there because that's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be on a virtual set there with EJ and Aryev and taking spooky stories, spooky client stories from people. Spooky. So that's going to be a whole call-in show. If you can't make the live show, we'll absolutely read your client horror story on the air. So make sure that you email it to us, info@mograph.com, and we're going to have a lot of fun with that. We're going to have a little cauldron bubbling in front of us, and then when someone calls in, we'll do a chant. We'll summon them, and they will appear in a magic mirror above the cauldron. We're doing rehearsals for this week because it's a little complicated. So
it'll be a seance.
Yeah.
Where instead of raising the dead, we're raising the living.
We're gonna have to have
raising the emotionally dead.
Yeah, there you go.
Be prepared to lose some sleep.
Right.
Yeah. We're gonna have to practice it, but we're gonna have to come up with a good chant. You know, like
right.
Like
Mecca Lecca High, Mecca Hiney Ho.
Right.
Right.
Or Pinky in the Brain, Charlie Sheen Ben Vereen shrink to the size of a lima bean, something like that. We'll have to come up with something good. So make sure you are prepared for that. We'd also like you to send in some good Halloween renders that you like. Maybe it's your own render, and we'll check them out. We'll watch them. We've got a couple of those so far. So send those to us so that we can put them up and share with everybody. Show us what you're working on, yo. And speaking of Halloween, this is funny. It's slightly motion graphics related, but had a little mini get together, and friend Jeremy, who's in the industry, and then Ryan Talbot came over to chill, have a little barbecue action and whatnot. And we kind of went with the Halloween theme, you know, got some dry ice and had some spooky steaming drinks with the dry ice, and decorated and all of that. And
what were you drinking?
It was, so Julie made it. It's like it's a vodka drink, but it has this edible gold glitter stuff in it. So it looks like,
I was going to say, it looked like Goldschlager or something like that.
Yeah, it looks like a thick gold drink. I should have gotten a video or picture I could have pulled up, but I'll post it on Instagram or something. So there's that, and then you put a little piece of dry ice in it, and it bubbles up. And when it's done bubbling, you can drink it. So had fun with dry ice. And
you could drink it while it's still bubbling too if you want, but
that's probably a bad idea. It'll probably burn your intestines.
I'm just saying, it's possible.
You could, you can drink gasoline too, but
doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. It's just like when people say something has natural flavors. I'm like, well, uranium's natural. So is it good for me? I don't know. But
like liqueur,
yeah,
has natural flavors.
It's natural flavors, uranium. And so we're hanging out, right? And I'm barbecuing. I'd just gotten the dogs on the grill and whatnot. And Ryan comes from the bathroom through the garage, and he's like, guys, and there is the biggest spider ever that I have ever seen in person myself in my entire life. I'm grilling. Julie's like, there's a spider. I'm like, okay, well, y'all got it under control.
Spider, right?
She's like, no. It was just standing there in the garage. I'm like, okay, who's pranking? I'm like, Ryan, is this like a remote control spider? It was literally a tarantula. I'm not kidding. It was a tarantula in the garage just for Halloween, and it was real.
I didn't think we had tarantulas in the area.
I didn't think so either, and apparently this whole area has them. That's what we thought, but everybody has said now that they're around this area, and they've seen them before. And I'm like, man, I didn't know what to do. I was like, I can handle taking care of a regular spider, but this thing was giant, fuzzy, creepy, just like you see in the movies when this
It's like
giant.
John Goodman arachnophobia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like that. I was like, this. I'm like, this isn't real. It didn't look real. Like, this can't be
Yeah.
real, y'all.
Did
Who's
you touch
pranking?
it? Did you touch
No,
it? How'd
God,
you get
no.
rid of it?
So it started like moving up, I guess, and Ryan tried to like not like smash it, but he just tried to kick it a little to push it away. And so it scurried under something, and we could see it under this gas can, and we're like, oh my God, like we have to get this out of the garage. We have to get
Yeah.
this out of here.
Yeah.
And we ended up getting a Tupperware container. Jeremy put the Tupperware container on top of him and then slid something under it. But he curled up into a little ball, and we thought he was playing dead, but they put him in the front yard, and the next day he was still there. And we nudged him, and then he kind of got up, so he was alive, but it was like he was hurt. But man, I have never seen anything like that in my life. I swore Ryan was playing a prank on us, but
Poor
So you basically
Rancho.
killed the largest spider in your neighborhood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude. That's messed up.
I think he's still
Those
alive.
ranchos have feelings.
Yeah.
It wasn't on purpose, but you know. So there's an article coming out this week. If you want to check that on the site, there's a great article we're going to post on smearballs and the Dead Mouse pomegranate videos. So make sure you check that
Yeah.
out. And also next week, make sure you join the Maxon events going on from Tuesday the 27th through the 29th. I think the email went out this morning. I think it said Monday, but it's Tuesday. It's Tuesday the
Yeah.
27th through the 29th. It's the 3dmotionshow.com. Make sure that you tune in, check out all the awesome artists. It's going to be a good one. This is for, I guess this is the Adobe Max week next week,
Yeah.
right? So
Technically, Max, NAB, East. Like it's
that too. Yeah.
It's always the
that's-
mishmash of the two together.
Yeah, I miss being on the road doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
A lot of good presenters.
Yes.
Like this guy right here.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that Maxon thing.
Are you presenting? I haven't even looked
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
entire lineup. Let's see.
Gotta
I should probably bring it up. I should
I
probably
got
be
it up.
aware of this, considering that I'm
Andy White,
streaming it.
Bree
some great
Marie,
presenters, yeah.
Chris Pretty, Chris Schmidt.
now. Brie Marie is Brienne Gag. If you know Brienne
Brienne
Gag,
Gag,
that's
yeah.
her.
Yeah.
I don't know the story behind that, but she's under a different
Yeah.
name now.
Ethan Shaftel, James Ramirez, Jessica Herrera, Joey Camacho, Jonathan Winbush,
Mhm.
Lauren Fisher, Mr. Beepleman himself, Rachel Brickle, Sierra Ward, and Thanos Kaglaus. I messed that up. I'm sorry.
Cag Coglos, I think.
Yeah.
See, I've seen some of the presentations coming in, and so I knew a lot of these names. But yeah, Joey, I didn't realize you were
Yeah.
presenting again. That's cool.
Yeah. Just gonna race to get my presentation done next week. Post Adobe Max. So, but yeah, I got some cool stuff I'm going through. I haven't like put it out there yet. So
Awesome.
Don't worry, Dave. He'll get it to you at least like an hour before he goes on,
Yeah,
right?
you better hurry. We'll be
Yeah.
cracking the whip on you pretty soon.
I know. It's been a busy couple weeks. So yeah, it's all bottlenecking towards the end of the month. But once the end of the month, I'm excited for Halloween. I think
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think I might let loose a little bit and enjoy the wrap up part, my own private wrap up party.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Are they doing Halloween up there? Like, are they?
Well, so they've got videos online of like the candy shoots.
Oh yeah,
I've seen
yeah,
those.
yeah.
Yeah, like but yeah, kind of like that. Like it's not like everyone's under, lockdown. It's kids can go
Yeah.
out. There's all these parameters in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the candy shoot idea. It's pretty fun.
How does
Yeah,
that work?
But it's like, so just to give you some context, like it's snowing out right now, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be snowing until Halloween, likely.
Yeah.
So, all these wicked costumes and all the kids like spending all this time, all of a sudden, like they get a costume on,
Mm-hmm.
they get all dressed up and they're excited. And then they get to the front door and then it's like, okay, you got to put a jacket on, you got to put a toque on, you got to put snow
Yeah.
pants on, you got to put your boots on. So, and now you're going to be 8 feet, 10 feet away from these kids
Yeah.
rolling around. And it's like, so what are you for Halloween? Like, that's literally the only question. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, here. And then it's like, I'm Peter Pan or whatever. So
Well, see, in Texas, we're the reverse of that,
yeah.
where it's like we would be dying for some cool weather
Mhm.
while we're walking around with these big masks on,
And it's
you
100
know,
degrees.
these big rubber masks that you're just soaking in.
Yeah.
You know, like back when I was a child, I went as Judge Ito one time. You know,
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
and so
Great choice.
yeah, right.
I see the resemblance.
Yeah.
Thanks. You know, but I had a Judge Ito mask that I was wearing. You know, and it was like the hottest Halloween ever.
Yeah.
So I was just melting in that thing, you know, and it's like, that's Texas for you. If it's either really hot or it's just raining, you know.
Yeah.
Right.
It's been
I'll
nice.
take the
here,
cold
though.
weather any day.
Yeah.
I'll take the cold weather any
You
day.
say that now. Yeah. Not that long. It's like it's just because our entry door is on the second level, and we have a ring cam that we see the same guy, and he's always just like, even the summer, he's just like, if it's a smaller package, he'll just whip it like from the down 2 floors down, just whip it. And if it doesn't go, he'll pick it up and whip it again until it like lands on our little like front doorway.
Oh, man.
And we saw we were
Don't order any electronics.
I felt like such an old man this morning because I heard this commotion out front, but then we heard this thing hit our front door, and I was like, oh, like it's him. And I opened the door, and this woman across the street is actually yelling at him for throwing stuff at our door.
Yeah.
And so it's like kind of this chaos, and I'm just out there in my house coat. I know it sounds super cheesy. I'm in my house coat. It's freezing cold. I got a coffee. I'm like, hey man, could you stop doing? He's like, well, it's cold, and it's like, and I'm like, yeah, I understand it's cold, but it wasn't cold 2 months ago.
Yeah.
when you were still doing it for fun.
Yeah.
But it gets really cold, and you know, Halloween's always a bit of it's almost like a pre-Christmas party.
Yeah.
He'll show up tomorrow with a slingshot apparatus to start slingshotting packages at you.
Yeah, totally.
It's cold, dude.
Well, it was his face when he saw me standing at the top of the stairs versus what he was saying to the woman across the street was pretty fun. Yeah. He turned it around pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I wanted to quickly go to, before we get to all about you, Joey, I wanted to go to Ravcock, What's Your Flavor?
What's your flavor?
And talk about just a couple things in the render front and then some hardware stuff, which we usually throw in here. Number one is World Creator Beta will be free for Octane users.
Does it say when?
It doesn't say when. I'm not sure about that part. But there was an article about that, I think, that Ariev posted that. I get a lot of my news from Ariev, I think. I just wait for him to post cool Octane news, and then I just steal it.
Yeah.
Nice.
But he also posted something else that I'll talk about later in the linked section. But that's going to be a fun conversation. Jules is going to be on the show on the 9th.
Yeah.
So check that out. Make sure you go actually to mograph.com/live and check out the lineup, because we have got some great talent coming up here on the show. Make sure you check all that out, including who else? Beeple and who I don't remember off the top of my head. I know Chris Schmidt and yeah, we got a lot of good ones coming up. So make sure you check it out. But I wanted to talk about hardware and chips for a second, because Matt and I had some issues. We talked about the fact that we got 32X Threadrippers, and here's the deal.
Yeah,
like,
it sounds super exciting, doesn't it?
It sounds super exciting. However, here's the problem. When you've built systems your entire life, you would think, okay, well, more processing power equals good.
Right.
Not bad. I had 8 cores. Go to 32. That would be good, right? Wrong. So I don't know. Matt bought these things and he sent them to me, and I'm not blaming you for this, Matt, because I don't feel like I would have known this either.
I take full responsibility for this, for not knowing. It is a very expensive lesson to have learned. Yeah. But I mean, it's not like we're all right. Go ahead.
We're still using the processors. We're gonna throw them in one of our like render machines. But the thing is, here's what I don't understand: a 32X Threadripper. Not only did it give me all sorts of USB power issues, it gives me clicks and pops in my audio. It gives me weird mouse lag. There's all these other gremlins in the machine where well, it's part of the USB power issue, but the USB would unplug and replug. I had problems with processing everything. I had problems with editing. I had problems with After Effects.
Yeah.
Premiere 2020 was useless. It couldn't even play back a basic like HD piece of video. I'm like, this is just...
Yeah, but in the processor's defense, like, does Premiere 2020 play regularly?
Well, I went back to my old 8-core, and Premiere 2020 still will not play. It chokes, and it just plays, and it won't stop. You actually stop, and you can continue editing and doing things in Premiere, but it's still playing video. It just won't stop. And I switched back to 2019, no problem. And everybody's like, well, did you try this setting? Did you try this setting? Did you clear this thing? Did you change these preferences? Yes. I spent 7 or 8 hours trying to get this stuff to work the other day. I switched on and off every preference. I uninstalled. I reinstalled. I did everything I could short of just starting over with a brand new system. Which
Have you guys tried any of the Blackmagic stuff?
Yeah,
that was kind of my thought. It's like maybe this is the reason to move over to Resolve and Fusion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, but it's like, I don't know. It's I have used Fusion, I've used Resolve, and I really like Resolve. I think Resolve, it's great. You know, sure. It's just, I don't know, maybe it's the muscle memory and stuff like that of getting into it, and you know, and a lot of clients that we have are using After Effects, and if they want the project files, it's like, oh no, I'm in Fusion.
Right.
And they're like, oh, what's Fusion? You know.
Yeah. And I'm editing my course right now, and I'm like, I really don't want to have to learn this on top of editing my course at the same time.
Yeah.
Jason,
I will tell you something. So I'm in the same camp as you, except that we bought a Blackmagic camera a while back. And so I was like, okay, like we got this 4K footage. I just want to like take it and kind of, because they give you the free software with it, which is amazing. And so spent some time shooting with the camera, getting like kind of some cool slow motion footage. And I was like, okay, I just want to like whip together an edit. So I went in, and it was kind of like trial by fire, right? So and then, but once you get into it and spend maybe, I would say 2 dedicated, like almost like I need to get this project out in 2 hours mentality.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like there's some very intuitive speed ramping, editing, cutting, and the thing for me, and maybe it's that I haven't used the most up-to-date Premiere, is the titles, like titles in Premiere, and versus like what was going on in Resolve was pretty crazy. And that's where like timing of, like I could do snappy timing of actual like titles matching the footage, and like it was interesting. And then all of a sudden it was like this face tracking mesh that you could do with Resolve to do like kind of like beauty retouching, where it like tracked the face, and then you could like, it was really I get the trade-offs. That was kind of like the main thing I've used, and then after that I haven't used it. So
well, that makes sense. But for me, when I'm editing my stuff, it's always something super simple, right? It's just like I need to throw in a couple cuts, and I don't know. I just didn't. I need to get into it. I need to get into that as far as my other video goes, because like I have a Blackmagic camera as well, and I'm sure that it would be beneficial. Are you on, what kind of camera are you on?
The 4K. 4K one. The new, like not like the latest 4K. I know they did a 6K one, which is super cool because it's got the EF mount on it.
That's the one I have.
Oh, you got the 6K.
It's great.
Gosh.
It's great. Like,
I think you would really enjoy bringing that raw footage into Resolve, and it's like just adjusting your ISO in post. I know the raw footage is like crazy heavy, but
so huge. Like when you're doing the full 6K raw, it is like 1 minute of video is something ridiculous, like 50 gig or something insane, But,
no, but it's fun to play around with. I would I'd highly suggest it. It's kind of it's worth at least checking out to see what you like.
I really do need to make the switch, because I've been on the fence, especially the past couple weeks, about because After Effects has just been giving me problems. It just gives me problems. It's like, okay, so do I move to Fusion or do I move to Nuke? But it's like, because Nuke, as far as studios are concerned, I feel like more studios are using Nuke, but it's like I don't really want to pay that much money,
Yeah. Do they have an accessible
they have an indie version, I think, but it's still, it's like I think it's still, expensive. But I don't know.
You don't get a free camera.
I don't even know if I would use it enough.
You don't get a free camera with it.
Yeah.
Right.
See, the thing is, for me, I wouldn't mind doing that. The problem is that my system still wouldn't be working correct as far as everything else goes, and it's and plus we want to do upgrades and we want to get the new 3080s if they ever become available.
Yeah. Did you see NVIDIA added a CAPTCHA to the checkout page?
Really?
Yeah.
2005.
I have a feeling that they're gonna release some new ones coming soon, specifically because they added the CAPTCHA to it on checkout. Try and keep some of those bots from buying them.
Yeah. Or the eBay sellers.
Yeah, for 70 grand. Yeah.
Right.
Well, Aryev's been actually texting me this morning about it because he's talking about the fact that the power supply for these 3090s are just going to be, if you're going to stick like 4 of them in something, you're going to need possibly multiple power supply, like dual 1600 watt power supplies. And I think we're not going to go with the 4 at this point, but we definitely need to upgrade our boards and all that. So
so we decided it basically got to the point where I realized that my After Effects just was much slower now, with this new upgrade. And it's like, all right, I've been having a few issues here and there, but now on some other projects, I've been rendering standard renderer because it's faster than even just using Octane or Redshift or whatever. It's like, oh, I'm just going to use this, right? And I have really enjoyed that.
The multi-core,
the multi-core stuff. So we were chatting with Sage and we're like, we're kind of burned on AMD. Let's get an Intel machine, so we bought some new processors and new motherboards,
and they still cost less than what we spent on those other chips.
Like had I known that in the first place, I probably would have just bought the Intel ones with new boards, or we would have bought the 3rd generation Threadrippers with a new board as well, because we would have saved money that way.
It's fine. I mean, we need new motherboards anyway. I'm still getting clicks and pops in my headphones now. Like after upgrading the BIOS, it's like I need more power, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Have you guys have you been to that site called Puget Systems or whatever?
Yeah.
Have you ever been over there?
Yeah, I've seen it. I
find that they're pretty reliable, in terms of their testing and stuff like that. So that's a good place to check out if you're looking for hardware and But again, it's all compatibility, right? You could buy that chip and have the best of luck, and then all of a sudden you could have a different motherboard than what they're testing on, and to have pops and clicks and just struggles. So there's so many things in a PC, especially that compatibility wise, it's what happened. And troubleshooting is 3 or 4 levels deep.
Troubleshooting is so, and that's why Apple has its closed system, and that's why people like it. They know what hardware is going to be in it. They know what software is going to be in it. Yeah. But I don't know. We'll see. I'm just like, okay, what is anybody using a 32 core processor for if it just sucks on all of these systems? I get that it's good for Sims, but nothing else works.
But it's if we were an Arnold shop, or a physical renderer shop, or even a VRay shop, it's like, okay, cool. Keeping these would be great, and our workflows. Like I said, I love seeing those 64 buckets all at once. Yeah. That's very nice, So we're keeping them. It's a big, lesson learned. But we picked up some Intel i9 processors, or the 14 core 28 threads, so it's still speedy. But it'll be we're hoping these work better.
Technology's come a long way. First world problems, right? Lucky though.
Lesson learned. But you just you wouldn't think about that. You think, okay, this is more expensive and it's 4 times the cores, I should be fine. But no.
No,
can't have nice things.
I've heard. See, I was talking to Phil Raid Zero the other day, and he's got the same processor. And he says it works fine for him.
That's so weird.
You know, and I've heard some people who are like, yeah, it's totally fine. You know, and some people like I think Hupke was saying that he had terrible problems with the same one that we had.
Jason in
like,
chat,
I don't know.
Jason said same thing. He's had issues with his 2950.
Yeah.
So it's just hit or miss, I guess. Well,
yeah.
You know. But let's get on with the topics. Let's talk to Joey about all the things.
Oh man, yeah. What about me?
Everything. Let's start from the beginning. First of all, you are not an Italian New Yorker, I take it, as most people think whenever they hear your name. But
yeah, street boxer from the Bronx, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
I can be that. I can be that for you if you need me to be.
Tell us about your upbringing and your background in this industry. Where did you start?
Okay, well, I think prior to being creative, I guess I've always kind of thought I was creative, but I worked in the restaurant industry for a long time.
Nice.
Yeah. I worked.
There are dozens of us.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I think there's something about it that's kind of necessary. I think there's like a face-to-face, customer service thing that like is just so high intensity in the restaurant industry, especially when it's busy. So yeah, I stuck with that, and then ironically, the restaurant that I was working at, I built their first website. And it was before websites were like, they were just like happening, and restaurants were like, oh, we need one of those. So anyways, I ended up doing that, and then I ended up I learned Photoshop a little bit, and then they were asking me to do like little things here and there, and then all of a sudden I was like, man, like I really enjoy doing this stuff. I had a camera at the time. I would take like photos of like the interior, like it like was one of those things you didn't even think that you were enjoying until you started to like realize you're like, oh, I'm doing this a lot more, and it kind of put a spotlight on it for me. So I was in my 20s, and I decided to go back and spend an obscene amount of money and get my degree in visual communications. Again, I say that kind of like tongue in cheek because it was expensive, but there was something about it that I hated and loved at the same time, because we were doing things like, I was like, sweet, I'm going to jump on a computer, I'm going to start making Photoshop stuff, and I'm going to do this. But the program was super intense in the way of like, I was one of the older people in the classes. I thought I kind of knew everything, and then quickly was put in my place when I was stuck in color mixing classes and like mixing paints to get like the perfect black. Like that was an exercise, right? And so there was that, and then there was things like going through critiques, and taking feedback that was based off rationale or based off actual purpose-based feedback versus opinion. And so that was pretty humbling. And then we had a motion design class that was pretty behind the times, and then I started tuning in. I wanted to get ahead. There was no Cinema 4D stuff or any 3D stuff at that point. It was just really loose After Effects type things, like exercises, and like I could go back and try and find some of those. They're fun to watch. But and then I just stumbled upon I stumbled upon Nick's stuff early on when he was still doing Photoshop tutorials like out of his living room.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and I was like watching that, and then I saw him doing the Cinema 4D stuff, and I had like an old Mac laptop and was like doing like little renders off that, and then I went and graduated finally, did okay, which was good, and ended up getting a job at Critical Mass. I'm not sure if you're familiar with who that is, but they're a big, they're a global kind of web design advertising agency that actually started out of Calgary, which is crazy. They got bought by Omnicom, which owns like all the big ad agencies, and BBDO, like all like the big ones around the world. Anyways, so I worked there, and I got to work on really cool projects like Adidas.com. We did like rebuilt their homepage, did like some customization stuff. Anyways, I kept staying creative, but then there was a job at a critical mass that came up, which required it was a video shoot basically, and I was doing, like I said, I was taking lots of pictures and doing lots of video stuff, and I'd only been there about 6 months. Like I hadn't been there long, right? So they had asked a couple other creatives or art directors and people who had been there. The way that it was set up is that there was an actual different company doing a production commercial, like doing a real commercial. It was the Porsche Panamera hybrid versus the new Infiniti like M35 hybrid. And it was about this, like who, I think it was 0 to 60, like who would win. It was some spec type stuff, right? And it was being shot in California. I've got some family down there, and I was like, oh, like I had all the equipment. Like I had sliders, I had tripods, I had multiple cameras at the time. I had, glide cams. Like I had a full like run and gun setup that I would use frequently. And I was like, oh, like this is perfect. You guys are gonna love this. I have all this stuff. I'm ready to go. Like I could totally, because what we were tasked with was shooting a behind the scenes, like a making of this film. And it is on my Vimeo still. I keep it there as a point of pride. It's a reminder. Well, I'll say it at the end, but they weren't interested in me going. They hadn't seen what I was capable of. They hadn't seen proof in the pudding, basically. And I hadn't been there really long enough at the time. And so they chalked it up to me being like, I need to kind of earn my chops. And I get that, especially because it's a bit of a risk. So then I was like, at the time, I was like, well, how do I remove the barriers in the conversation of like why they can't, right? It's expensive for you to, we can't, there's budget constraints, there's equipment constraints, so I said, well, I've got my own equipment. I said, well, I've got this personal spending account that we get every year. It's up to $500 for us to better our abilities. And I said, we'll say, what better way to better my abilities than to actually be on a shoot? So I said, I'll use my personal spending account. I'll pay for my own plane ticket, and then I'll stay with my family down there. And you've got no budget constraints, so that excuse is out the window. Anyways, so I ended up going, and the commercial company that had sent, the art director, this other equipment, they literally like sent them like full on like hydraulic dollies and like full on like the crabs, like the hydraulic crabs with like and you have a DSLR, like, so all the equipment that they sent this guy, he like, you're doing a run and gun, you're not able to like be behind the scenes on a commercial when you need to set up a full skateboard slider with like 2 tracks and like all this stuff. So I got down there and I was just whipping around, just gathering as much B-roll as possible. And it's, to make a long story short, I got back in that project, I think they only got 4 or 5 shots on the other camera, like literally like 8 seconds or 15 seconds of footage. I'm like, what are you guys going to do with that? And they said, well, what did you get? And we had all this footage, and I already started storyboarding because we had to kind of like be like, what do we have? What kind of story can we tell with it? And I started putting it all together, and basically they wanted to take that footage away from me at that point and go do something cool with it. And I said, you know what? I've already started on, like, let me finish this. And we took it through, and the client actually said, you know what? We like this. The feedback was, we like the style and the feel and the look of this. It says so much more about our brand than the actual commercial they spent, I think $250,000 at. And, so, and it was at that point that I realized, like, kind of taking those excuses away and just trying to find ways around things versus through things all the time was kind of a good approach for me. Like, and so right away I kind of was like, the 3D stuff and my desire to go and do that was always limited by the ability to actually work on it at that job, because there wasn't a lot of animation, there wasn't a lot of 3D, there wasn't really anything like that. But I knew it was something that I was playing around with. So, all of a sudden, I left that job. I was super scared to do that, but I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna figure it out. And I started playing around at home. I had my Mac Pro, like the big 12-core Mac Pro with an NVIDIA GPU and slotted in the side with all the extra power cables because there wasn't enough power in those things, right? And so I remember playing around. I was using VRay at the time, and I stumbled upon Mike Beeple's work, like we all do at some point. And I looked at like his progress, like, you know, I looked at his drawings first and I had a good chuckle. And then I looked at, you know, the progress of the, you know, I think it was at that time, it was probably 3 years or something that he was doing it, 4 years. And I was like, wow, like, so I like hopped onto VRay because I was like, okay, the notion of doing that every day, I get it. I totally get it. But then using VRay, I was like, oh my God, like how do I actually do this every day? You know, I could render out 600 pixels, 800 pixels, maybe. And the learning curve was quite difficult. And I think probably 8 months into that or a year into that, or not even, probably the first 5 months into it, Octane came out.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and I don't know if you guys remember it. And it's like that moment where you fire up the demo and you've got that cube in the thing, and you're just like, you drop in a cube and all of a sudden you turn around, it's like got the pale, you know, even the clay render that you're watching live.
Yeah.
You're just what? Like, I'm turning the camera. Yeah. So, you know,
being able to see lighting,
the live
like
viewer
instantly, it's like that was the moment where you can't go back.
No. And so then I just started, that's kind of, you know, that was early days, and that's kind of how I got my chops, and we moved out to Vancouver about 6 months into my everydays, because I had been kind of quasi recruited to go work at a large a large visual effects house out there. It was MPC, and I don't know how it happened, but it was like, have you ever seen that meme where that guy's like getting ready to jump on the double Dutch jump rope, and they're going, and then he like goes to jump and he just like falls over?
No.
I think so, yes.
Yeah, that's how it felt working at MPC. I was like ready to go, and I got in there and they're like, hey, here's your desk. And I was like, oh, like today's my first day though. And they're like, yeah, here's your desk, here's your computer, here's your shots. I was like, okay, well, you know, how do I install like Cinema? They're like, oh, you'll be using Nuke. I'm like, huh? And so that's kind of how that went. I knew a bit of Nuke, and it was, I think the time when I saw someone work, I was working on an 18 frame green screen shot. It was blue screen through a truck window. It's 18 frames. So you're just watching this timeline like this, right? And you're trying to key out hair and all this stuff that I didn't know how to do efficiently at all.
Yeah.
And I spent like, I think 4 days, like 4 8-hour days trying to figure out, you know, this shot. And that's when I kind of knew, when I said, I leaned over to someone else, I said, hey, like, you know, what would you do in this case? There's reflections, there's this, there's hair. And the guy's like, oh yeah, here, let me just take a look at it. And he's like, okay, I'll, you know, just come back to me after lunch. And then like after lunch, he's like, okay, it's done. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously there's a gap. And the team, I was more worried about the team that I, you know, was working with, all the other, you know, talented people, that I was literally holding them back. And so I quietly like exited out the back door.
He must have hit the green screen, the VFX button when you were gone. Yeah, totally. He just hit that button.
The easy button.
The button everybody talks about, you know.
Yeah. And so I was like, and I actually kept a lot of great friends. You know, I had a couple of real solid friends actually from that experience. But, and I just got back to work. I actually licensed my first image when I was experiencing that stuff, and I looked at that licensing opportunity, and I was like, oh, like I got paid this in a month at MPC, and I got this, you know, in a licensing gig that was from my personal experimentation, my personal exploration. And some light bulbs went off there, and you know, I've always said, you know, the value of whatever you create is the value it creates over time. And so that kind of started me down this path of just like continuing with everydays, and, you know, seeing the opportunities from commercial clients that came from that. I'm just so grateful that I stuck with it. Yeah, really lucky. I think we were talking about before we jumped on this, like just how lucky to be in an industry where you can work from anywhere with anyone, not be limited by the, you know, the rules of reality, both in what we're making and, you know, the realities that we're facing outside of, you know, our computers. I think it's, it's really cool.
Yeah, because you were able to move recently, and it's you can move anywhere. People, and you see that going on right now in San Francisco, for example. Like since COVID, you remember how high the real estate, the prices, and everything, cost of living in San Francisco was, and now it's like, well, you can do this from anywhere, and it's such a great thing to be able to do.
Both Microsoft and Dropbox have said that anyone who works for them who wants to stay at home can stay at home from now on.
Yeah, and I think even Shopify, like I think they built this big office in Toronto recently, even, and even as early as last year, I think they finished it and they had everyone there, and they just said, you know what, this is working. Like, don't worry about coming back to work, like ever, if you don't want to. Like, you can just work from wherever you are. So I thought that was really, really cool. There was a saying early on. It was like all these people, all these companies that said like, oh no, like you can't take that much time off, and you definitely can't work from home. We definitely need you in the office because that face-to-face like time. And I agree, there's some aspects of like personal connection that are missing.
Yeah.
But in terms of like just sitting down at your desk and doing your job, you don't need to. You just need to be sitting down at a desk and doing your job.
Yeah.
So
it takes a bit of discipline, as someone who has been working from home. The first time I worked from home, I spent my first 2 weeks fishing every day. It does take a bit of discipline, but once you get that discipline down, it's like, all right, I'm at my desk these hours. I'm working through these hours, and then separate yourself. But yeah.
It's timers. Everything, you got to set limits.
Yep, absolutely.
It's like, I think once you hit that go button, even you might get a little distracted, but I think the timer is like the equivalent of like your art director or your creative director walking by every,
right? Absolutely.
Like, oh yeah, I gotta click my head.
Right? Where are you at? Where are you at?
Yeah.
I'm not fishing. I'm here.
The thing that I've been trying out the last couple weeks is, I'm a big to-do list person, and I've got a great management system down as far as doing my to-do list. It's effective, it works. However, my big problem has been underestimating the amount of time that it will take to do things, and it doesn't matter how hard I try, I still feel like I'm not getting enough done because I'm not hitting those to-do list points every day. And I'm like, okay, well, you put 10 things on your to-do list for today, but you didn't think about how much time each of those is going to take. And the fact that you're going to take a break at 5 o'clock and you're going to go running, and then you're going to come back and take a shower, eat dinner, do all those things, and then you're going to be tired when you come back. So what I've been doing is trying something new, which I've never done before, which is to take my calendar and put it into, week view instead of day view, and start blocking those things on my to-do list. Not everything in my to-do list is on there, but the major points where I have to sit down and take the time to do something that's an hour or more, that's what I'm putting on. Say, okay.
That's funny because I do that in my head, like I think about all the projects that are coming up, and I'm like, okay, this is due this day, this is due this day, this is due this day.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on it. And I do it throughout the week instead of, just putting everything down in one thing.
Well, that was my problem, is that I would put it in my head and I would think, oh, well, you could totally knock out that client render and post that article and then do all that social post and then go running and then come back and record a tutorial. You could totally do that in like 5 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how it works.
So I'm really trying to lock it in and then do blocks for like, free time and all of that.
Yeah.
And just it's working. I'm still learning. Like I'm still having to push some things that I don't get to, but it's really helping me think it through and think, okay, that's going to take a lot longer than you think it's going to take. It's been helpful.
I had completely spaced, like forgot to mark it down because I was talking to a client on Friday and they're like, hey, can you get this weekend? I'm like, I'm going to be out of town. Can I get it to you Monday? And totally forgot to mark it down. It's like 6 a.m. I'm feeding my baby, to get him back to sleep. And then all of a sudden it popped in my head, oh yeah, that's due today. All right, looks like I'm putting the baby down to sleep and I'm going to work because I've got other things that I have to do at 9 a.m.
That's the one that's due by end of day today, right? That's what you...
Yeah, but I finished it.
Oh,
because
okay.
I had other things that I had.
You have to do this afternoon.
I was
Yeah,
booked for today.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, oh yeah, I gotta get that done.
Yeah. Yeah, I've done that before. Promise something over the weekend, and then I enjoy my weekend and forget that whoops. So, but so tell us about what you do now day to day, and let's talk about a little more about the licensing thing. I think that's something a lot of people are going to want to hear about.
For sure. Yeah. So, yeah, we recently moved. We moved right at the end of March. I think it was end of March. Yeah. So right in the chaos. It was about a 12-hour drive. We split it up into 2 stretches, and it was really kind of surreal driving here. Not a single vehicle on the road. It was like, and the hotel we stayed at was in Revelstoke, which is a big ski kind of destination. Super busy usually in March, and like we stayed at one of the more popular hotels, and it was like The Shining, literally in the middle of winter. It's like nobody there but a front desk person. We didn't see anyone the whole time we were there. They upgraded us, and so I'm kind of precursoring like what's life like now is that we got a new home, which is really cool. Lots of stuff to like. You don't realize how much space I think you have when you make that upgrade. And so just kind of like figuring out how we make it into a home, how we enjoy it. So the first,
fill all that empty space.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And the first few months here were really, really stressful, even though there wasn't a lot going on. It was stress. Like you'd be like, oh, like, cause your whole routine's kind of different. Your whole routine, it gets kind of flipped upside down, and we were getting some contracting done, some landscaping done. You're like, well, what should I be doing? Should I be outside talking to those guys, or so I think it's just getting into a new routine, like which cupboard the coffee in, thing that you found, when you talk about like willpower, right? They talk about like willpower is just like you run out of willpower when you've run out of energy to make decisions. Throughout the day, and you're just like, oh, like I have to think about which shoes should I wear, and that's why like they talk about like Tim Cook and like all those guys wearing the same outfits every day, because it was just like one less thing they had to worry about because they had other bigger decisions to make. And so, but our days were like that. It's like, oh, like where's this? What's that? When was this coming? What's that? When do we need to get that? Where do we go to get that? I'm sitting here learning how to patch my own Cat5 cables because we can't get an electrician in the house because it's cold.
Right.
So things that I was just like never thought I'd have to do or learn how to do, I'm all of a sudden on YouTube trying to figure them, all out. And so then I got really busy with a project in January, which kind of held me over, and I'm obviously just busy doing my everydays, but Avantform, which AF is we call it for short as AF, is the platform that over time, I wanted to create. I've always wanted a space to be able to like let my work sit in the background so I can focus on being creative. I can focus on working on client work. I could be on a beach sipping on margaritas, and my personal work is creating value over time. And so I had been approached early years ago about different larger companies being like, hey, would you like to contribute your library to us? Would you like to contribute, give us all your work basically? And I was like, yeah, but you're like your stock photos, I like what you're doing, but I don't know how, and I could never find a place. And then when I was talking to a lot of clients back in the day, and then I was talking to a lot of artists, at a lot of the meetups, or even at Adobe Max and like things like that, like where I'd see you guys, or I'd see like the David Brodeurs of the world, the kind of the people that we know in the industry that are consistently creating work, or they're consistently creating authentic work, like they have a style, or they have they have kind of a space that they own, and there was just some consistent feedback. It was like sometimes the payouts are sluggish, you're spending time talking about possibly licensing an image and nothing ever happens, so you've wasted time and energy in that conversation. And most of all is like the biggest thing is like, I think we just want to spend more time just being creative. Like it's just one less thing you have to think about. And so we've created this space for artists to actually just, artists, animators, motion designers, CGI, just creators in general, to be able to be on a beach, sipping on margaritas, be, working on a client project, and, waking up in the morning and having, an email that says, hey, you've made a couple $100, or you've made, $50, or you've made $1,000, or, something's been licensed exclusively, or something that's been licensed. So yeah, it was really inspiring to see the artists kind of come together and rally around it. And now we're ramping up for a really kind of exciting, what I call is like second phase, V2, with all the research that we've gathered over the last like year, probably. Since even before we launched V1, we've seen, patterns in the market. We've seen, especially with COVID, like how quickly clients want access to work easily, and how different the image making landscape is happening. Like how, where photography, is very much real life, real people, connections, interactivity, with real objects. CG has such a powerful aspect to it with regards to, I say it's like the equivalent of being able to go on set to an old photo shoot 3 years ago and tell one of those people, can you just get out of the frame, and we need to reshoot this. CG, you can do that. So there's some customization aspects that we're working on. There's this, ease of accessibility in the market with regards to conceptual ideas that photos can't often, in a way that's not cliche, that photos can't do, right? So, if you want to say speed, how do you do it with a photo, and then ask yourself the question, like, how can you say speed with CG, right?
Right.
There's kind of literal ways. You're like, oh, maybe a person running, maybe, blurry lines down a traffic street, maybe that's fast. And so, but there's the, you can relate to the photo aspects of it because you've seen it before. You've seen those references of fast being shown like that, but now you have this whole world of like content creators and really talented up and coming artists, and being able to convey, let's say, speed in 1,000 different new ways. And I think that's what's most exciting. I think also, like, let's admit, we're just talking about tech, and like the barrier of entry has dropped exponentially over the last few years, right? And I find it crazy interesting that, there's YouTubers that are like known for video content that are like, well, I've got a 3090 anyways because I need to edit video, so I might as well just like learn how to use Blender and render my own intro graphics. Right? So you start to see this meshing of mediums instantly become, because of the accessibility of technology and the accessibility of knowledge, right? Like, remember when you started out and you were like, oh, I don't know how to do this, and there's maybe one or two places you could go. You could go to like mograph.net, or you could go to
for Octane, you would go to well, gosh, why is my In-Life Thrill?
Yes,
to learn Octane.
Yeah, exactly. So all these things are dropping, and social media is kind of like this other kind of peripheral component that we're looking at. It's like, how much does social matter, right? Like, how much do followers matter? How much does influence matter in this day and age with corporations? And you look at the marketing dollars that are being spent by big companies to connect with, let's call it influencers, or people who have clout. I just say people who have credibility with a relevant audience, right? So those companies are looking to the ambassadors or the influencers that already have those eyeballs, and it makes so much more sense than to just like spray and pray a commercial, right? When you can talk to someone who has a voice that maybe they, like, let's say NVIDIA, if NVIDIA reaches out to a creator and that creator's got so much more credibility with an audience that's personal, it just makes more sense. They can connect. So we've seen stuff like that, but we've also seen the negative side of like social driving aspects of creativity that are not good, right? Like, it's like, imposter syndrome, duplicates of duplicates of duplicates. And then you see the conditioning of creativity based on let's call it serotonin or dopamine, right? Like you're constantly conditioned that you need to make something because there's some little hit of, recognition at the end of it.
Right.
And that can be, a pretty ugly cycle if that's really the only thing driving. So you got to kind of, we're trying to figure out ways to like, encourage artists to keep making, but keep making in the space that is authentic and like, look to other sources of inspiration. And, we're working on more things with V2, like we talked about community with you guys too, right? It's like how important it is creating awareness in that community or creating inspiration in that community that is different. So yeah, it's all crazy exciting right now. It's very busy. But, I see my vision with AF purely, beyond just me having a place to like, just have my work sit in the background and people be able to buy it with the click of a button, I think is creating an opportunity for either professional artists that have been around for a long time and they appreciate, what we're trying to do, to artists that are up and coming and, don't want to get swept into this kind of like, create just to, creating like just because there's this little daily hit of recognition. I think creating a community that covers that spectrum and inspires that spectrum of creators and then allows them to make money in their sleep, I think that's like a huge win, huge opportunity, and I'm really excited. So
residual
or even $1,000 while you were sleeping. It's nice.
Yeah, and I think like even client work, it's like it's hard to do that. It's hard to do it. It's hard to create personal work when you're uncertain of what the value of it might be. And you can't put a dollar sign on anything you've created until you end up, receiving that dollar. So to trust in that it'll accumulate into something once it starts to consistently happen. We talked about YouTube and advertising, right? Like it's like how long do you stick with it when it's so much easier to go, yeah, but this client's giving me 10 grand to do this job, so like it's easy for me to like put that in a box and be like, okay, that I know that's what I'm getting. Where then you've got this other area where it's like I'm gonna make this thing or make these things and I'm not sure what it's going to be worth.
That's actually something that Smearballs talks about in the article we've got coming up this week about not having enough time to do certain things because somebody comes along, they're like, hey, we want to pay you this money to do this thing. It's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll put the other stuff, the creative stuff on hold because money dough,
Yeah, and I think there's always a point in I don't know, for me, there's always that question of like more, when you're on, we're all going to die. Right. So we know that.
Right. Well, I'm not, but
so to get to put a spin on it, at what point do you go, okay, like these are the things that I'm going to look back on and be like, I'm glad I did that. Am I going to look back and be like, oh, I'm really glad I did that client project? Or am I going to look back and be like, fuck, I'm really glad I did that short film that for no reason.
Right.
I can tell you a story about the power of personal work for me, and it's incredible because it was mind blowing at the time. I was working on I was doing that Learn Squared class with I was mentoring at the time, and it was a piece that I ended up creating called Prediction. And it was like, first off, it was these style frames. That was the first course. And then the second part was this animation. And both of those classes were purely for personal growth, right? Just purely for like, I was not getting paid to do them. I was trying to push the envelope. And I think this is a story that, some artists should hear, because you can get stuck in this, and there was an accountability level though, because you were mentoring, right? So there was someone on the other side, at least waiting for something and wanting to put something together. So that course ended up, I was able to create work in that course that had a fidelity to it that was my new floor, is what I call it, right? Like I've been creating stuff up to here, but then all of a sudden I created this stuff here. And I was like, wow, like I didn't think I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
And now that became the floor, right? Like you didn't want anything less than that. You're kind of like, oh man, like it's not quite as good as that.
Yeah.
And so I kept trying to push that, but then that got picked up by like that piece, the animation and those images over time in terms of licensing and in terms of usage is just, and the projects that those things have led to, because they were like, I don't know if it was just because I was doing it for fun, or just because it was something that was like out of like an authentic place. Like I wasn't trying to create something to impress someone, or wasn't trying to create something to like, match someone else's capabilities. I was literally like neck deep in the process, and enjoying the process. That stuff is like, has returned its dividends, I would say, more than any client project that I've ever done. And I think that's really cool, for artists out there. It's like the next piece that you could make could be the one that like, this, makes you passive income for repeatedly over the next 10 years. So yeah, I don't know where I was kind of going with that, but I think it was more the notion of like the power of personal work isn't immediately noticeable like client work, right? Client work is immediately noticeable because you know what you're going to get, whereas the other one's a little bit dicey, but potentially has more reward, right?
Yeah. So. And what is the process like? Because obviously you have some pretty high standards here, as you can tell by the work on the site. So what is the process like for somebody? They apply?
Yep. So they apply, as we make some really big updates to the site. The process for application is basically, pretty similar. They apply. They said, we just ask some questions about kind of like process, like what they like to make, what describes their work, where can we find their work, and then they can upload that work. And so there's the personal aspect of getting to know how we can actually support this individual, or make meaningful decisions and have meaningful conversations with them inside the platform. And then there's the other aspect is like actually getting access and then like uploading the work. So a really cool challenge, and I say cool because it's been a nightmare, to be honest, is learning how to describe this stuff, right? Like photography is really super easy. It's like, that's a person, that's a dog, that's a cup, right? But I could ask you both to look at the same image right now, and you call it a sphere, and someone else would call it a particle, or someone would call it a circle, or someone would call it metal, someone would call it shiny, right? So, finding the criteria that to kind of start making this stuff searchable is very difficult, right? Because it's one thing for us to make assumptions on the front end of what that should be called visually, but there's the other end of a customer coming in and be like, do they even know what that's called?
Yeah.
Do they know what curl noise is? Probably not. You know what I mean? So for them to assume, make that assumption is challenging. So what we're working on is a lot more discoverability, like get people to think of concepts and themes versus just images. So right now what you're seeing on the site is more like our V1 storefront, right? You just walk into a storefront, and that's good. It gets people into the product and gets people checking out all the cool content, but it doesn't put enough of a spotlight on the actual artist. It doesn't give them like, a space to really like step forward or put not products, but put like the work and the art all into like more of a theme, right? And finding ways so that instead of right now what it feels like is you're kind of walking into the side door of a warehouse, you're like, oh, look at all this stuff. Right?
Okay.
You get them from an experience standpoint to walk through it like a store, and you're getting, greeted, you're getting kind of welcome to this experience, and here's the artist, check out the artist. If you know who you're looking for, go find them. If you don't know who you're looking for, explore through the roster. So some of those components are currently missing, and that's what we're really excited to get out there, and it's good, and it's coming very, very soon. And then the other aspects of it are like, how can we create themes and trending kind of collections and feature more things, and simplify the licensing overall. The licensing right now I think is a bit complex, so we're going to simplify that and make it a little bit more balance, what we call is balancing like creative authenticity with like accessible commerce, and making that sweet spot. So it's always about quantity, quality, accessibility, understanding. And right now, like quality's high, accessibility's too low because maybe pricing's too high or out of reach, or the licensing is kind of for customers is a little bit difficult for them to understand. They're like, well, what is editorial? How would I use this for editorial?
Right.
Right. So we're massaging that stuff, and we're going to see some really big improvements. Got some really exciting partnerships coming up, which is something I can't talk about too openly, but it's really exciting for for the platform. It's exciting for, I think, the industry in general. And then we've got some other more creative partnerships coming up in 2021 that I really would love for the artists on the platform to have more access to knowledge, some more access to resources, and more access to tools, and so those categories. And we're on the Mograph.com thing. You guys, you put out great resources, right? You put out valuable resources, both like hopefully what I'm sharing is valuable today. I don't know, but being on these podcasts and stuff, it allows artists to just maybe get a sense of things that they hadn't thought before. So on the platform, knowledge is something that we're looking to partner with certain, partners with resources like assets, models, things that artists can then go and create more stuff with that maybe they didn't have access to or whatever. We can give them that and they can create more cool shit. And then, the last part is like, hardware, software, right? Like what are those aspects that we can help bring in and create like a mutually kind of benefiting ecosystem to go out and make more cool stuff, and then the partners actually benefit because some of the best artists, in the world are using these tools, knowledge, and resources to go out and then create. So we're finding ways to do that as well.
Are these licenses, are there options for like exclusive or non-exclusive? Like how does all of that work? Is everything exclusive or?
So yeah, the new licensing format is actually a lot simple. It's way more simple. So we've seen in the industry in the last like probably 6 months, COVID and pre-COVID, that there's the social and web is kind of like the easily accessible, clients, ironically, when they buy an image, if they're moving pretty quickly, they don't need it for broad campaigns. They usually need it for one thing, like they're putting out an advertisement or they're putting out something they want a key visual for their homepage or something, right? They don't need something like custom. They don't need something for, to go out in 5 different streams of a brand campaign, right? They just want it quick. They need to ship it now. And so we're moving to a model where you just have two licensing segments. It's basically web, and that's like single featured use where client just says, I just need it for this thing, we're moving on it tomorrow. It's one thing. We need a cool image for an email newsletter, boom, it's out. So it's kind of for more of a rapid moving landscape. And then there's like the all media license, which is like more of a broader campaign. So it's like we need this to go out on print. We need it to go in a website. We need to go on email marketing. So then that's like the all media side of it. And it's just 2 sizes. It's a 1400 pixel roughly, or down to 1080 pixel image for small, and the max uploaded size for large. And so that's where we're going with this. There's market freeze licenses, and market freeze is a really cool term because a lot of people think exclusive means that client is the only one that can ever use that. And it's not actually the case. Exclusive really just means that, it's not, I think the question is it exclusive in perpetuity?
Right.
Because exclusive in perpetuity means that they own it forever, or they're the only ones that can use it forever. You might still own the copyright, but no one else can use it. Market freeze, the way that in the industry is normally known as, is if Dave buys he needs this image and he wants to use it non-exclusively for something, he can go and do that. But if Matt all of a sudden comes in and says, hey, I want to buy this exclusively, license this exclusively for 6 months, right? Well, Dave, if he's got an all media license, he's just the only one that got it before you. So but we won't sell it to anyone else for those 6 months that you've purchased it. But once your 6 months is up, it's free game.
Right.
So it doesn't it never limits. And so it's just funny that when artists hear exclusive, they're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a $30,000 licensing gig because no one else is ever going to use it. And actually, it can be much more than that over time. You know what I mean? It could be repeatedly licensed over time, even if someone does license exclusively, that has a cap on it. So, and then one thing that you can't see on the site clearly is that I personally believe that artists know their work best. And so they should be able to have control over the price of it to a certain extent. So
I was going to say, I was looking through some of the different artists and stuff, and I'm seeing different prices.
Yeah.
All different ranges.
Yeah. So the range will be a little bit more consistent because, again, imagine being a client, right? Coming in and being like, well, it's a bit of a Wild West in here. Like this person's, and so we're simplifying the pricing a bit, but artists will still have that capability, which is awesome. I think that if you have something that's special that you've worked on, that you know is like a value thing, I think that you should be able to do that. If you have something that you just like to see move more, and you're like, you know what, it hasn't been selling, I'd like to maybe just drop it by $50 or $100 or whatever. I think so. What we're seeing today is V1, but V2, I would invite you to, come back, in a few days and look at V2 for sure, because it's a whole different experience.
Sweet.
And it's a really cool space. And I'm just lucky like that I'm learning as much as I am. But the industry is moving pretty quick. It's especially in this day and age right now.
How are you handling payouts as far as artists? Is it something where you have a separate fee, or is it something where you do the whole fee and then you 1099 them, like pay them directly? How does that?
Yeah. So in terms of licensing and like payouts, we do pay like the highest royalties in the industry, like on repeated licenses. So if you sell a license non-exclusively, it's like 50-50. And then if you sell a license exclusively, you keep 75% of that. And then once we start to get in the custom aspect, and let's say a client comes and says, hey, we want this image, but we'd like you to move this sphere and make this metal and blah, blah, blah. You keep up to 80% of that. So payouts, actually, we've transitioned over from kind of like a laborious payout system to TransferWise. And if you guys haven't heard of TransferWise and you work with international clients, I would wholeheartedly jump on top of this. I've kept more money on commercial projects via TransferWise, via it going through TransferWise, than I have on direct wires going to my bank. So they're really, really cool over there, and they're really tech forward. So I would do that. But yeah, we pay artists out anything over $100 at the end of the month. The artist gets paid out. So
that's cool.
So yeah. How much of your time are you spending on this? Like, are you doing other projects? Are you doing other client work while you're doing this, or is this exclusively what you're doing now?
I do my dailies still. I do this probably, I dedicate probably 2/3 of my day to this right now, especially like leading up to a deployment on V2. It gets really hairy because I help with a lot of the design, I help with a lot of the marketing, I help with a lot of like the strategy behind it. And then we move to, I think I'll get a little bit of a break after. That's why I said that I'm going to have my own like personal wrap-up party at the end of the month. Eat a bunch of Halloween candy, but go into Halloween candy coma. I think that's how I'll celebrate. And then I think sorry, I lost track there of the question.
Just like, what else do you if you're doing any client projects or anything, I
was sitting here looking at my calendar. I'm like, man, I got so much to do. But I dedicate probably 2/3 of my day to that. And then depending, I'm fortunate because my other half, she is definitely towing the line in ways that I never thought were imaginable these days. So she's doing really well. I'm really grateful for that. So it gives me the space that I've created over the last 6 or 7 years doing every day, and doing a boatload of client work to then focus on a bit more on AF. And I'm still doing client work. Like I had a project in January that was awesome. And I'll be sharing more about that on the Maxon presentation at the roadshow. So, just trying to give myself enough time to like be creative and have that authentic kind of, because it is difficult when you're, working on something full on, for 2/3 of the day, and then being like, okay, like what's something meaningful I can make. So I've let go of that a bit, and I just say like, okay, like what's something cool, what's something, just spending time in the program, or spending time opening Cinema 4D. The idea, you guys have probably had a lot of conversations, right, about every days. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's this polarizing topic, and I think I'm biased, I would say, but I don't know. It's got this double-edged sword to it, right? Because you feel like you have to, and then some days you feel like you want to. And if I equate it to going to the gym, there's never a day you really feel like going to the gym.
Right.
Yeah.
But you'll never feel bad when you leave the gym. You'll be like, you won't be at the gym being like, man, I really wish I would have done that load of laundry.
Yeah.
Like you'll work around it. But you'll always do the laundry and be like,
unless you hurt yourself at the gym. That's
fair.
But it's like when I tell when I'm talking to Matt about running, and he's like, I don't want to run. I don't like running. I'm like, nobody likes running.
No one does. And I think, but there's a point, people like running when it feels good, when it doesn't hurt, when your knees don't ache, you don't have to recover for 3 days. And you're 30 pounds lighter or 20 pounds lighter, and you're like, I can run like a motherfucker. You're like, I'm like a gazelle. Before I was like a rhino, now I'm like a gazelle. I've been down the running road too. Like I think that no one enjoys doing it, but again, you'll never come home and be like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that run.
Right.
So
unless you twist your ankle, but
exactly. Well, you'll say, I wish I wouldn't have twisted my ankle.
Right, that's true.
Yeah, you can't blame it on the run.
Because then I'll probably be like, man, I wish I could run tomorrow, but I can't.
Yeah, totally. So it is a bit of a conundrum, and I think when you're over processing like your own meaning or your own ego inside of your work, and you're not just going to ship it, like a guy like Mike will just ship it, like he doesn't care. It's and the notion of it being one of many is what's really important, versus it being the one,
right.
Like this is the image,
right?
No, this is one of 5,000. Does it really matter? And like
and he does not care what anybody says in the comments either.
He does not know. He doesn't even read the comments.
No.
I'll hit him up sometimes. I'm like, dude, did you see what they were saying? Nah, don't read the comments, dude. Don't read the comments.
No way, bro. Don't, bro.
God damn it.
That was good. That sounded just like it.
I'll be interested to talk to him about that when he's on in a couple weeks and be like, gosh, people get so upset. And he posts political stuff on both ends of the spectrum, and people get so upset and write so many angry comments, and he just doesn't look at any of it. It's awesome.
And I that's awesome, because he's just like, the algorithm and the engagement is just like, like, I wouldn't care either. Just keep commenting,
Dude, he posts stuff, in 15 minutes after it's posted, there's like 700 comments on it. Insane. Insane.
Joey, do you ever search out artists for the site?
Yeah, that's a big thing.
I really like your work. We think you'd be good here.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like where I'm pivoting to. Like, I've been in the business right now, like doing a lot of design, doing a lot of like of the UI, UX, you name it, man. I've had a hand on it, and so I'm looking post our V2 launch to just kind of step back and get back to that, because that's how we got to where we got to. It was just, I feel it's important. I need to personally connect with the artists and make sure that they know that there's someone on the other end of the line being like, okay, cool. Like if there's something up or something we can help with, or something that, you just maybe, I don't know, just aren't certain about. I think there's this connotation with image licensing, and like, selling work it's always the first sale that's kind of like, I didn't get what I wanted, but then you sell it 10 more times, you're like, okay, I get this now.
Yeah.
And so what we're trying to do is, and what I'm trying to do, because I see both sides of the coin, I see the market going where it's going, and I know what it's like to be an artist and be like, yo, well, maybe if I held on to this and went through, a rep or waited for something else to come down the line, because you have to wait for that opportunity to come. I could sell it for a few $1,000.
Yeah.
But the difference is now if it's on a platform in the background, and it's selling, 10 times a week, it just depends what you're comfortable with, and I think that's a real honest conversation. It's the value of your work created over time, and if you have a place that we can help market it and we can help push it out there and we can help get it in front of eyeballs and deal with the client stuff, and you just wake up in the morning and have an email with a couple $100 or whatever. Yeah. I think that's where we want to get to, with all the artists that we spend time recruiting or reaching out to and finding if it's a good fit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pedro asked about Stripe. Why not use Stripe instead of what you're using for payments?
Just the business sense of it. It's Stripe and PayPal just take percentage points off of everything, whereas TransferWise gives you the mid-market rate, which is really important. The mid-market rate is like, if you Google what's $1 to €1 right now, that's the mid-market rate. Whereas if you go through PayPal or you go through your bank's going to take a percentage off. Everyone's taking a percentage off. And like TransferWise just gives you that rate at that time, and they take off either a flat fee, like it'll be like $5 off 10,000. So it's not that percentage isn't climbing, or that it's $5 off of 1,000. But I've always had this thing, like I've learned as I was getting, if I ever had to transfer like US payments into Canadian dollars, I'd always go into the bank and I'd say, okay, like here's the rate that this place in Vancouver that usually gave the best rates. I'd be like, here's the rate that the VCBO or whatever it was called is giving me. Can you guys match it? So instead of just saying I'd like to change US to this, I would go, I'd like to change US to this, and I'd like you to match this rate. And 9 times out of 10, they would call Toronto, and Toronto would be like, yeah, we can match it. And you'd save like 2 points off of a couple grand, which adds up over time.
Yeah.
And that's a long-winded way of saying why we don't use Stripe.
Here's something that I really like about Avantform versus just a standard stock site or something. I like that you're curating some of the best artists, the best 3D artists. So if you're looking for something very specific, it's not like you're going to have to shuffle through a whole bunch of BS first before you find something that is, has a beautiful design or, uses color well or something like that.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. Thank you. I think, in the market early on too, you see things in the industry, like you see guys like Peter Tarka and Rick Wustenbrook be like ripped off, right? Because they're doing things that, are originally like their thing, right? The swirly, glowy kind of abstract shapes, and now those artists have evolved from it, but their stuff's still getting ripped off and used in ways. So it begs the question, is like, once you can do something that other people can rip off and kind of emulate it, is it yours? And do clients care, right? Do clients care? And we're trying to find that spot where clients can come to this and be like, yeah, you might be able to get something like that somewhere else, sure, but you have far more credibility and clout by working with the artist that maybe is the originator in that style, right? Like, so and it's a conversation of like, how much does that matter? Because I think great work, like really great work, can't really be ripped off. It takes some time for other artists to catch up because you're pushing the envelope. So I think that's always going to be one of our mantras. The 3 qualities that we look for in artists, and any artist that is learning and growing is probably looking to other artists for inspiration, which is fine. High quality, what that means is just like, you're not just busting stuff out. If you're going to spend a day on it, like you're spending a day on it, you're trying to take it as far as you can. and it doesn't need to mean that you need to produce work daily. It just means that you're treating your personal work to the same level as like commercial work, right? Because you're selling these things, to commercial clients. So that's quality. Authenticity is just grounded in the value of like, you're trying to find inspiration and ideas from places other than YouTube, other than Grayscale Gorilla. Like, it's fine to use those as technical references, but and using the methodology, but every one of us can agree that it's like the methodology applied, or the technical aspect applied to something that's really original and really like kick ass, then you kind of got the equation locked down. So authenticity is really just finding your voice as an artist. Like, you've got a voice, you've got a tone, maybe you've got a look, maybe you've got subject matter that's kind of like yours, that you developed. So quality, authenticity, and consistency. It just comes in the way of that. You're not just kind of dabbling in 3D, you're not dabbling in this, you're not like doing something else. Like, there's some level of consistency in your personal brand, there's some level of consistency in your contributions to the platform, and there's a level of consistency in your output. And so those are kind of the three things that I look for. And I think it's really awesome as even up and coming artists, if they kind of think about those things, like, okay, like, am I sitting down and just getting my work done like a professional, but I'm putting some, kind of pushing the envelope. Then I think you're going to get someone who kind of gets past that kind of like, I need to do this because I need likes, or I need to do this because I need that dopamine rush. It's like, no, I need to do this because like I need to do this. And that's really it. Yeah. There's no reason, like, you can come up with a million reasons not to go to the gym, but you just like gotta just have an honest conversation with yourself and be like, you need to go to the gym.
Right?
So that's kind of how we spend time looking for artists.
Cool.
That's cool.
Want to get to our Mograph Recommend segment with you and get a little of your background, but first I got a couple links that I wanted to mention.
Oh, okay.
Number one is this. Here's the one that Arya posted. This is the GeForce RTX 3090 Turbo 24
gigabyte.
Yeah. This is going to be a 2-slotter. And that's people are excited about that.
It's a 3090?
It's a 3090 2-slot blower. So
it's a blower too?
Yeah.
All right.
See, holding out was a good thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
you mean not being able to get one?
Right.
Was a good thing?
Yeah. So yeah, I think that might be a good option there. Maybe get 2 of those. I don't know what the wattage draw is on those, but
I think they're like 350 each, aren't they?
Yeah, I think the wattage still stays the same. What they're worried about in those cards is the thermal throttling. Like, will that blower be able to dissipate the heat as well as the reference blowers? The power draw on those things is crazy. I was talking to those render box guys. The guys that make those it's called render boxes out of the UK. Their Instagram's really cool. They got a cool website, but they build these custom machines, same as like WS Computer. I don't know if you've looked at his stuff. That they literally like fabricate the cases for these things.
That's cool.
And they said I think they have 2, because they can put up to 7 of these 3090s in there, single slot water cooled. But I think they've said they would have. They don't know if they can put 7. They could definitely put 6. I think is what they said. But they can put they put 2,000 watt power supplies in them. Because the power in the UK, like the plugins, I think they're a little bit higher than ours in North America. Because what is it down the States? Is it 120 volts or whatever through the outlet, like 15 amps or whatever? Is that what it is? 15 amps?
Well, depending on your breaker, but yeah.
Yeah, like the normal standard is about 15 amps. So with these cards, you're looking at like I just got some electrical done downstairs because I put my old machine down there, and we ran a 15 amp line to each outlet. Like, so there's 2 outlets here that's got 15 amps. There's 2 outlets here, it's got 15 amps, and then I have to plug in, because the white machine, that old machine that I built with the 980s, and it has 7 of those, and it draws more than 15 amps. So I have to plug it into each one. Yeah. So you'll have to do that with these if you want more than 2, I think.
Yeah. Well, Jeff said each card, Puget had like a setup that they were working on, and separate power supplies. Each card was pulling 400 watts. And actually, Ariev sent me, I'm just going to hold it up because Ariev sent me this photo that somebody from Puget posted. I'll give you his Twitter handle in case you want to look it up. Matt Bach, or Bach, I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Puget Matt Bach. PUGETMATTBACH. He said, it's working. Dual 1600 watt power supplies is plenty for quad RTX 3090. Now to see how the performance is. So, and the first comment, of course, is Ren.
That's not
living on the edge with 4 of those with a 1600 watt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool though.
Yeah. I thought we were going to have issues just trying to put 4 3080s in, so.
Yeah.
I just want one at this point.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, one right now will beat any computer system that I have in my house.
Right.
Yeah.
Just one of them.
Well, I looked up the old Octane bench scores because, so I had that Hepta GP, the 980 Hepta 980, so it's got 7 single slot 980s in it from years ago, and it's still like churning out renders. It's fine because it's out of my office. I can send it downstairs. It's super cool.
Yeah.
But I looked at the Octane bench, and it's like the 3090 is 6 980s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I got 3 980 Ti's in one machine.
Yeah.
And then a 2080 and a 2070 Super in another machine. The 3080 by itself is equal to the 2080 and the 2070 Super.
Yeah.
And it's like half, or then you cut it in a quarter, and then that's the 3 980 Ti's. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So it's exciting. It's no wonder that they sold out so quickly.
Yeah.
Because that's what I mean. The content, the barrier of entry again, it's dropping. A content creator will just get that for you know YouTube and videos, and now that are going to do 3D rendering, and they're going to do tons of other GPU related stuff. So it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool space for sure. It gets you a little unnerved because you're man, you got these young artists that can now churn out work in a sixth of the time, and find the knowledge. But I think still you're going to have so many of those in that space, and then there's going to be the cream of the crop that actually do work beyond what's available and what's easily I can there's a 10-minute tutorial this, 10-minute tutorial that, right? So how's the Houdini class going? Do you mind if I ask how's that been? I was really
it's good.
It's good. It's been great.
We've had a lot of positive feedback from the Houdini course, and the fact that it's 40 hours. I mean, that's killer right there. I went through the entire thing myself, and I loved it. I felt really comfortable in Houdini afterwards. Which is I think the ultimate goal for anyone jumping into Houdini.
Right.
Now Mark is happy with the sales.
That's good.
Because you do something like that, it's you don't know how much time you put into it, how many people are going to buy it, and you put all that time and energy into it, and people start torrenting it, and it's dude, you're hurting people really bad when you do that. People don't. Well, it's harmless. Well, maybe one would be harmless, but multiply that
my rebuttal to that is someone who's going to torrent, right? There I don't know if it's a cost thing all the time. I think it's just they're not sure, they don't want to commit, so they're just going to torrent it. I think that's the exact opposite of a person who would spend the time on doing a 40-hour class, right? The values of I'm going to spend 40 hours on this and knock something out of it versus be I'm just going to download this from somewhere else. So we've seen the two camps of mindset behind that. So I think it's cool to try something out, but back in the day when I would torrent stuff, I'd never finish it. It wasn't important enough for me to buy, sometimes. So I think when you put skin in the game, you're more likely to finish it.
That's true.
I agree.
Yeah. Jeff said Houdini course is amazing. One of the top 10 investments for me this year. So super appreciative of that. And so I have one more link here, and that's the PNY Parallel Dimensions contest, which is PNY teaming up with our friend Clinton Jones to do a little contest. So I'll put a link to that in the show notes. You can check that out. Maybe I can get a little, give you a little blurb here if I could look it up. Let's see, PNY Clinton Jones, because I don't know all the details. It literally just came out this morning, and I think they had some copy here. So Clinton and PNY are excited to collaborate with the community to create a piece of art that will draw on everyone's unique creativity and join together to produce a cohesive, unified, and amazing creation that is bigger than the individual pieces. So what is Parallel Dimensions? It says Clinton loves traveling to new places, the excitement of getting lost in a foreign country, adventuring to the furthest, deepest point on the map, listening to music that amplifies a place's magic as you press the shutter on your camera. He missed that feeling this year, but he has an idea. Over the next 5 weeks, he challenges you to add your own personal flair to the 3D template provided. Transform it into a lush, breathtaking garden, a snowy, war-torn alley, or a foggy swamp town. Make this one personal. Spend the time to create art you're truly proud of. In the end, the top 20 submissions will be combined to form a collaborative audiovisual montage, kind of like a VFX Megazord. And of those 20, 3 of you will be chosen to take home prizes that are guaranteed to push your creative ability even further. The grand prize is an NVIDIA Quadro RTX 4000. The second prize is an NVIDIA Shield TV Pro. And then the third prize is a
1 terabyte M2 drive.
Yeah, a terabyte M2 drive. And then you've got fourth and fifth honorable mentions, 256 gig Elite X Fit USB flash drive. So
I went out of town for a Taekwondo tournament this weekend for my kid, and I was hanging out with some of the other Taekwondo parents and stuff like that, like you do. And, we were all out at dinner, and I was talking to one of the kids, you know, because he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm really interested in 3D and stuff like that." He's like, "I follow this group called Corridor Digital." I was like, "Let me blow your mind for a second here." You know, and then I pulled out the episode where we're interviewing Clint, and he was like, "What? It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah, he's hitting it hard. He's really he's doing a lot right now. Those streams he's doing, man, those are marathons.
Yeah.
Those are marathons, cool. Man. So this is really cool. Check it out. There'll be a link to that in the show notes and such. Now, before we do Mograph Recommends, I did want to do a quick VR corner because Matt and I got ourselves a little Christmas present already.
Yeah, we bought our Christmas present early.
Yeah.
Our company Christmas present like we do.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I thought that like the 3080s and 3090s that getting an Oculus Quest 2 would be fairly hard to do right now, but
yeah,
we were able to put in a pickup order at Best Buy and get it in like 10 minutes. So
yeah, it was awesome.
Nice.
We been playing with it, and I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the freedom of not being connected to a computer.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely like it's not the same as having one connected to your computer. That's for sure.
You have to buy all the games again.
So you have to, like, how could you have an Oculus account, log into the same account, and then it's like, oh no, you have to buy Beat Saber.
You have to buy Beat Saber again
like,
for $30. It's like, seriously?
And everything else.
You gonna make me do that?
Now it did recognize that I had the downloadable content already, and it gave me that back for free. But come on, like, really, I gotta buy all my games again if I want to play them like that? So I don't know.
So sorry guys, what platform is it that you bought?
It's Oculus.
Quest 2.
Oculus. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's I don't know about Dave, because Dave, you have the Rift S, and then you went to the Quest 2. But I will say, for me, going from the original Rift,
that's a big upgrade
to this. It was a big upgrade. Like the quality is you don't see so much of the screen door effect,
right?
You know, which is really nice.
But that was true with the Rift S. But this is not that this isn't better. It is better, but
Yeah.
you see
And
a
then
bigger
being
difference.
untethered is fantastic. The
Yeah.
setup for the room boundaries and everything, the inside out tracking, holy cow.
But see,
Like
that's all in the
ease
Rift
of-
S.
I know.
Yeah.
That's why I'm saying, like, jumping from the original
Yeah.
Rift to this version, there are so many what's it called? Ease of life, whatever,
Quality of life. Yeah.
quality of life
Yeah.
changes. Yeah. Where
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I just reach down and I touch the floor. Now it knows how tall I am.
Yeah.
Oh, I can set the room boundary instead of having to walk around my entire room and hoping that it doesn't get in the way of the sensor.
Right.
I can just point at it, and then being able to use the hands. That's so
Yeah,
weird.
I didn't know that until yesterday, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh, you could just use your hands.
Yeah.
It's like a
So,
baby's
like,
toy."
It's like a baby's toy. But like, it's weird. Like you're scrolling and stuff like that, and
Hey,
pinching
pinchy.
to yeah, But there's no games that you can use for it. It's just
Yeah.
like scrolling around and stuff. It's
Yeah.
neat. But I did wish like the battery lasted
I was
longer.
gonna say that. I was literally
like,
about to say that. Yeah.
So I looked online. I was like, I wonder if there's like an external battery. And it's like, yeah, sure enough, it's just one of the big brick batteries.
Oh,
that
you just
plug
connect it to the
USB-C.
USB.
No, and you just like strap it to the back.
Oh.
It's like,
Actually, that
gosh,
might be
can you imagine
nice.
How heavy that would
Well,
be?
yeah, but if you put it
know?
on the back, it might even it out. It is a
Yeah,
little
like
heavy
powder.
because it's
It
got
is
all
less-
the equipment in
Oh
it.
my gosh!
But
So I let my dad try it
Yeah.
yesterday, and I have never in my life seen him laugh so hard. He's like a 60-something-year-old man who's playing Rift, and like the Rift is immersive.
Yeah.
And so like I let him play Robo Recall.
Oh
And
man.
he can't figure out how to grab the guns, So he got this. It's one of the little like spider robots coming up, and he freaking tried kicking it.
Oh my gosh, that's
It
funny.
Totally kicked my wall.
That's great.
Eventually, he tried to grab a robot, and he ran straight into the wall, and it was just so funny because he's just completely
concept,
forgets
Yeah.
that he's in this other world, and just ran straight into a wall. Oh man, it's so good.
It doesn't
So
tell
good.
you. It gave me no indication that the battery was up though. I was just in the middle
yeah?
playing Beat Saber and it just shut off, and I was like,
I don't
"Oh,
like-
okay."
I don't like that if you take it off and put it down, it continues running.
There's an option.
I don't like that.
You-
Oh, there is?
Yeah, there's an option.
Okay,
for
well,
that.
I don't have that option. I do
Sleep
like
mode.
that you can streamcast it to your TV though. That's
Yes.
pretty rad.
Yeah, and
like
your
being
phone.
able to. I mean, you kill the battery, but
Yeah.
at least the people sitting next to you can watch the games that you're playing as well, or you can stream it to your phone, which is also really neat.
It does feel like more of a closed system in that aspect,
For
kind
sure.
of like the iPhone or something. It's a little more closed than having it on the computer. But I enjoyed it. I got in bed and played some sit-down games in it, but which is fun. You can sit there and draw or do whatever. I sat there and watched Blake Catherine's 360 videos on YouTube.
Oh, that's
which
cool.
is really fun. And just
The one
thoroughly
thing I
enjoyed
don't
it.
like about the YouTube, because there's the YouTube app and they give you a whole bunch of videos that you can watch, is it's stationary. It's nodal base, it's node
Right.
panning or whatever. So if you move, it still
There's
makes me
no-
feel sick.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
I gotta say and this has been out for a while, but I downloaded Trover Saves the Universe, which is
So good.
Justin Roiland's game, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's so funny. I was just laughing out
Did you
loud.
kill the guy? Did you kill the guy in the
In the
chair
house.
at the beginning?
Wait, in the chair?
He's the first
yeah,
guy
yeah.
that you. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You receive an achievement for killing someone
Yeah,
unnecessarily.
I just love the fact that it's so immersive and interactive. Like you are befriending, and this character is befriending you, and he's talking to you the whole time. He's like, you help him get something. He's like, oh thanks, buddy. He's like super happy. And if you aren't doing something fast enough, he's like, come on, we gotta get going here. And he'll help you out if you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And Justin
Come on, you
Roiland
gotta
had to
bump up.
sit
You gotta
there.
bump up. Bump up a little
Yeah,
bit
bump
higher.
up a little more. Come on, man, you can do it. Come on, bump up. And he's like encouraging you, but he is just such. Justin Roiland had to have sat there recording just audio for days to make this happen, because you'll sit there working on a puzzle for 20 minutes or something if you get stuck, and the characters will just sit there having a conversation with each other while you're doing that, just for an hour if you want, without repeating anything. I'm sitting there trying to do this puzzle, and these two guys that sound like Rick from Rick and Morty, they're up there talking to each other, and they're like, "I love you, man. Oh, I love you too. Remember when we made love down in that forest?" And they're just going off. And at one point, I was laughing out loud because they were like, still conversing after like 20 minutes. And he's like, you looking pretty thin there, man. You've been working out? Oh yeah, man, I've been doing the low carb thing. He's like, oh man, I'm totally in ketosis right now. Just this, man, I don't know. I have not had that much fun in a game in so long. And it's one of those things where like you could watch that on TV. You could watch like a Rick and Morty like episode of something, but it's not the same as actually being there. I was done. I was like, I was in that place, with that character having that experience, and it's feels different in your brain. But I would recommend that game to anybody who has VR. Just sit down and try it out. It's so good.
Yeah, it's nice being able to just sit, and play a game like that.
Sometimes.
It was pretty
cool. We're looking at just with all the snow, like we're gonna have about 9 months of winter is usually what it looks like.
Yeah.
And so we just splurged. We hadn't had a new TV in like 13 years or 10 years or something crazy. So it was like an old plasma. Like I didn't realize how bad it was until you go look at new ones. And ours had like all these like weird like white light creeping in the background. So I was like, oh man. And so we got
so hot too. They're so hot.
We got a 77-inch Samsung OLED or LG OLED.
Oh,
dude.
Nice.
Yeah.
It is like game changer. Like we didn't even have 4K. Like now we're on 4K, and I've got a 4K monitor for the last 2 years. But anyways, we were kind of looking for like the comfort thing, so we're waiting for the PS5 to come out, and that's going to be like just like all in on VR for 9 months of winter.
Well, that game is actually going to be, or it is available for the PlayStation VR, the existing one. What's the one called? The PlayStation 4
VR.
PlayStation VR. I don't know.
I think it's PSVR.
PSVR. Yeah, it's available on there too. So they'll probably have it on the new one as well. It's so great.
I'm just excited to play like video games like on an experience, whereas before it was kind of like just this thing, So
you can get a 3090 and play on an 8K TV if you want,
Yeah, you get it on Linus Tech Tips or whatever. We played it on the 85-inch 8K.
Yeah, $30,000 screen.
Oh no! The 98. There's a 98-inch Samsung 8K screen. And it's at the Best Buy by our place. And you walk by, you know what the price tag is on that Canadian?
What?
It's $98,000 Canadian.
Oh my god!
It's like $1,000 per inch.
And that will be $2,000 in the next 3 years.
Right.
The way things are moving, you're just
I'm waiting for those OLED screens to come down, because every time I walk into Costco and I see those, I point it to my wife. I say, "You see the blacks on that? Oh, man, those are good. Those are beautiful."
Well, especially when you're in a room that's completely dark.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the titles come up, and you're like, "Oh, like it's not. I don't have this weird like white grayish haze."
Yeah.
I never been one to be like, oh, we need a new TV and like this, but I'm like, once I got into like the like technical and I was like, oh wow, like this is crazy. And we're looking at updating. We're trying to look at that Sonos Arc or whatever. You've seen that, the new soundbar that's replacing their one that was like top of the line for 7 years. It's really cool. It's got like a Dolby Atmos sound. It fires sound up like off the ceiling and out the side.
Oh, cool.
So it feels like you have surround sound without actually needing like a bunch of surround sound speakers. So
I should look at that.
We're just trying to get all the comfort things for winter.
Yeah, for hibernation. Shotgun says in the chat, I was talking about the transparent screen too. Yeah, Linus Tech Tips or whatever his channel is.
Oh yeah,
did that transparent screen.
Yeah.
I don't know what you would use that for really, but you know. Anyway, let's go to some Mograph recommends here, and then we'll let you go. I know we've had you on for 2 hours, and you probably got tons of stuff on that calendar.
Yeah, got to do that daily, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. This is actually a treat. This is actually because I literally was like, "Okay, I'm offline for a few hours." That's why I was sending you like Skype messages, like, "So, like, when do we start?"
Yeah. Let's do this.
Hey, anytime you want to come on, just let us know.
That's right.
Anytime. But yeah, no, it's been fun.
Yeah, so we're going to start with your favorite movie, and any of these answers can be a current favorite or an overall all-time favorite, or both.
And I'm going to run to the restroom real quick.
Wish you would.
For sure. All-time favorite, original Blade Runner, director's cut.
And
so far.
And do you have like a really nice quality copy to watch on that new TV now?
Ironically, I didn't even think about it. I bought the 4K version of it, and we don't have a 4K player. I have to go I bought Blade Runner before I even bought the ability to play it on the new TV. So that gives you context about. I'm just like, I have to have this. I watch it once every couple of years, and actually the version that I bought now is different than the director's cut. It's like the final cut or whatever. I guess there's a bunch of different edits, but this one's going to be slightly different than the director's cut. So
I had a hard time finding the new one in 4K. I was surprised. I was like, I want to watch this in 4K. Come on, guys! Like this is anything you should be able to watch in 4K. You know.
I think I got them both at the same time on Amazon, and the 4K one, the new one was like an add-on. It was like recommended. I was like, oh, might as well. They got me with the add-on.
Are you getting these on Blu-ray? Is that, or are you downloading them?
No, 4K on Amazon.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Yeah, I ended up going to like YouTube or whatever, Google Play Store in order to find a 4K copy of it. It was weird. Sometimes it's hard to tell. Sometimes like you search for 4K, because I'm a big 4K nerd now. It's like, okay, you have to see if you can find the 4K copy of everything. Yeah. And I'll look and it will say, you'll type 4K and it will show it, and it's like, it's an HDR. You're like, okay, it's HDR, but is it 4K? Like, doesn't really say.
Is it HDR Blu-ray or is it HDR 4K Blu-ray? Or is it Blu-ray HDR?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. It's a bunch of different combinations. I don't even know. I got them off Amazon, and then I got them and I was like, oh yeah, I need a player.
Yeah.
I can't just throw these in the Xbox.
Yeah, see, I've got these TVs. They're not like the best quality TVs, but they are very affordable, which is the TCL. That's what Matt has too.
Yeah. Well, did you see the latest, the Series 6?
I did see that they have the new ones, yeah. But
those are just the Samsung screens.
Yeah.
That's how good they are. It's crazy that they partnered with them. Yeah, they got a couple recommendations on them, but yeah, for affordability, and even the features, they're really nice.
Yeah.
So,
you're talking about headphones already?
No, we're talking about the TCL Series 6.
Yeah, they're good TVs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the next one on the list is your favorite music.
Right now, it's like that. I just play like the focused, kind of concentrate, like deep tech kind of housey tracks on Spotify. Like nothing too but they're kind of like, I'll send you a link. They're just kind of like background. Yeah, they're just kind of like background stuff. There's no like really heavy vocals in them, and kind of like just like this rhythmic kind of thing. I know it sounds weird, but right now, like when I need to stay focused, I love listening to music like all the time, but when I need to stay focused, it's strangely enough, it's like classical sometimes. Like I really just listen to classical when I'm working. But for good times, I listen to a lot of Lane 8. It's like just like
that
party
sounds
tune.
Very familiar. I think I know.
Yeah. Super talented producer. And yeah, like other artists right now, I listen to a couple like radio shows. I listen to like a Defected in the House radio show. I used to do a lot of DJing back in the day.
Oh yeah, that's right. I remember seeing some of that online.
We're all failed musicians, aren't we?
Yeah. Failed musicians / restaurateurs. Yeah, no, I used to do a lot of DJing. I still have my Ableton Push 2 here.
Mine's right here, right next to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collecting dust sometimes, but yeah, Lane 8 is just kind of my go-to right now. And then I'm just loving, we got a couple little Sonos speakers, and I love just being able to get up in the morning and be like, Alexa, because I got Alexa built in, and I just play some 90s rock.
Yeah.
Play some 90s rock.
Yeah.
Like Nirvana, Soundgarden. Yeah,
90s were the best.
90s were terrible for pop music, but great for rock music.
Yeah. And ska,
Sure.
Love myself some ska, some 90s ska.
Yeah.
I don't know about all that, but
we lost Dave.
Yeah. I took Clinton Jones's, I think it was his life hack, his suggestion to get the bone induction headphones. I did. I got
sleeper ones.
It's kind of a medium priced pair. I didn't want to go too far with it, but
yeah,
I took his advice and just wearing them and just having some like ambient music or chill hop or something playing whenever you're doing stuff. And I found that if I'm editing, for example, like if I'm editing on the computer, I don't like to play music on the computer while I'm editing, but I do like to have a little bit of that low ambient on my because it doesn't cover your ears, so you can sit there and edit, and that's kind of in the background, and you walk around with it and do whatever. I don't know, I'm kind of liking it. So
weird.
Yeah.
How's the sound?
It sounds pretty good. The reason that I did not buy them when I was looking for headphones for working out, even though I think that they would be great for working out, is because when I am running, I like to really pump up the music, and I don't feel like those types of headphones would be good for that. But
I'll pump up the jam.
Yeah, maybe I'll wear them to go biking later today.
Yeah,
something like that might be nice, because then you can hear the cars coming.
Right.
Yeah. Now, do you so you listen to that music while you're working? Do you listen to the same thing like when you're not working, or?
Well, that's usually like so there's last two kind of when we had friends over, it was either it was 90s hip hop jams too. Like the 90s were awesome and I wasn't a big fan of them back then, but like hearing them now, I'm like sick. Yeah, like you just like all of a sudden you'll be talking, you're like, I don't know the words, but I know this beat. That's when we're kind of doing social stuff. But I think Lane 8, when I'm just like when I'm in a groove and I just want to like not be like super focused, but I'm just like working on something that doesn't require focus. Maybe I'm working on my render or something. I'm not like totally like trying to watch a tutorial and trying to learn this new thing or have a bunch of stuff open. I'm just like he's I'm a big fan of his stuff. I listened to a close friend of mine, well, not close friend, but an acquaintance of mine. We were closer when he was in Vancouver and I was in Vancouver, is Haywire. So that's Haywyre. Really talented guy. We did some work together and I helped him with some stuff. And then he actually was awesome enough to do a live event at my wedding.
Oh, nice.
Cool. Yeah, he like showed up, and if you ever like heard of like Chromeo, right? Like he kind of does that. Like
myself some Chromeo.
Yeah, like his sound's a little bit different, but you'll notice like when you watch his YouTube videos, like I think he's got like a classical background. Like he's like he's European and he's got this like he can like just like play like on a, and so we had a great time, and I'll listen to his stuff as well. One of our other artists on AF, he's done some like work with him, like creative work with him as well. So, I think those are kind of
And what about TV shows?
Oh, went through The Boys on Amazon. Really enjoyed that. I've been watching Catastrophe. Have you watched that?
I don't think so.
It's kind of, well, if you're a little older and you're married, you got kids, it's priceless. It's a great comedy. The wife is Irish and the husband's American, and it's just like this, like it's literally like it's like watching a train wreck every episode. It's pretty funny. I think that's, you should watch it. Just watch the first episode, you'll have a good chuckle. And then we watched Utopia. I really enjoyed that. It's pretty crazy. It's got Dwight from The Office in it.
Oh yeah.
And it's just the storyline. You're trying to wonder trying to wonder how they, like, did they film it during the pandemic because it's about a pandemic and it's about like, you know, the world kind of ending. It's really crazy. But there's some really cool creative stuff in it, like the illustration, the storyline. It's about a comic book. It's really, really neat. Yeah. It's pretty violent too. Not as violent as The Boys, but yeah.
I just started watching Devs, by the way.
Yeah, John Cusack. Yeah, John Cusack's in it.
You just started watching Devs?
Yeah, first episode. I'm not even done with the first episode. I fell asleep, but it's good.
It's
no spoilers.
It's meh.
What is
until
it
episode
so far?
6.
What is it called? Devs.
Yeah, Devs. Yeah.
And what's it on?
It was on FX, but it's on Hulu. You can watch it on
is where I
Hulu.
watched it. Yeah.
So it's okay. Like I love one side of the story. I don't love the other. But then by the end, you see how they intertwine, and it's like, okay, I'm with it now. Episode 6 is where it like gets good.
Okay.
You know, I've been watching what is it? Because of oh gosh, Colin, she recommended Fleabag, is it? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Gosh, that it's so funny. It's so funny.
Gotta watch it.
I just got through the first season. I binged that pretty hard, but man, it's pretty raunchy, you know, at times, which is funny.
And that's on Netflix? Or is that on
Amazon Prime?
Amazon Prime. Yeah.
How are you, Matt? Do you have HBO Max?
I do. I've got everything.
How are you watching it right now with Roku not having that?
I bought a Chromecast specifically for it.
Oh, such a pain.
It's fine. I don't mind it.
They need to get
honestly,
their act together and
like,
just figure out
here's
their
the
deal.
thing. Like having a Roku TV is cool, you know, but it's like there are so many things that it just doesn't connect to, you know, that once I got the Chromecast for it, I just end up using the Chromecast all the time, you know.
The new one is going to have like Apple AirPlay integration and all of that stuff.
Yeah,
So-
some of the TCL TVs actually have it as well.
That's what
you
I'm
know?
talking about. The new
Yeah.
TCL
Yeah.
Roku's will, but
Yeah.
Sugar Free says, "What about Breaking Bad or The Wire?" Actually, beat Kevin to
Wait.
the punch.
Oh,
Yeah, and Kevin said Sugar Free has the right idea.
I wonder if Sugar Free is that you, Kevin, or someone you know?
He's talking to himself, right?
Yeah, right. That's funny.
All right,
Watched all the Breaking Bads, yeah.
Yeah.
all the Breaking Bads. I still have barely watched. I've tried to start watching The Wire like 3 times, and I haven't.
Yeah.
But that's Kevin's running gag now every week.
Yeah. I liked it. I mean, I watched the first couple episodes of The Wire.
Yeah.
It's just slow. It's slow.
How about podcasts?
Podcasts.
You mentioned Talk Radio.
Mograph.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, not a bunch of podcasts. I find that, you know, it's probably just the nature of where I'm at with work right now is that I can't listen and work at the same time on something that I want to retain. Like if I'm going to listen to a podcast, it'll be in a car, like a car ride. It'll just be, I need to, like, I've learned this over time is I'm not a great auditory learner. Like when someone's just talking and I need to like just listen and retain information. Like I learned this actually in design school. I could be alert in every single class, have 10 hours of sleep, like be ready to go. And then I would go to an art history class and I would love the content. Like I'd be able to read the book and get through all like the minutia of it. But then as soon as her professor started talking, and it was a dark theater, so that probably didn't help. She had a really like soothing voice, like a soft, like almost like a voice that you listen to like on a Calm app these days.
Right.
And then she'd be like talking about, you know, the Cubist movement, and I would just be like so excited, and then I'd be like, and I'm not joking, you guys, like my notes, I'd try so hard to stay awake that my notes would be like this, and then like they would literally just be like
Trail
the
off.
pen would, it'd be like a pulse, right? You just see the flap line kind of go off the side of the thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, not great at it. So I try and save podcasts for moments where I'm doing some, what's that called? It's like it's when you're using enough energy to keep you active. Like it's when you go walking, right? Like when you go walking, you're not having to think about walking, but you're at least doing something that keeps you alert.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I need to kind of be in that state.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I listen mostly to podcasts in the car, and it's funny because in my head, I don't know, something about the way my mind works. If I go back and I listen to part of that podcast again, I can remember where I was and what I was doing at that exact moment they said that. Oh, that's when you were turning the corner to turn onto that street when they said that. It's weird.
Yeah, I'm that same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a story moment, like a narrative in your life.
Yeah, it's almost like it has something to do with
right?
Yeah. I think it has to do with photographic memory. If you have a photographic memory, it probably has that effect on you. But,
yeah, I can do that with receipts.
Really?
That's funny.
I can do it with receipts. Like I can look at a receipt that's 6 years old, and I can be like, I was here with this person eating this, doing this on this day.
Crazy.
It's really weird. But I just
my receipts.
You what?
I shove them in a bag, and then I just give them to my accountant. And then they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's my life in a bag."
If I go back through my bank account and I categorize things, even going back a year or so, I can remember all the exact. Oh, you were at that place with that person doing that thing. It's weird.
If it's something different than one of the thousands of Chick-fil-A, things in my, I can probably remember it.
Yeah.
You know,
it's almost like you should start
the amount of money I spend on Chick-fil-A.
Oh no, we should start a scrapbook this year, a receipt scrapbook.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like, oh, this is when I was. I imagine showing your grandkids that.
Oh, the memories.
At Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
This is when I was at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
This was when I was at Chick-fil-A.
What's pathetic is like Sonic. You know, you see the amount, you're like, you know exactly what you bought there.
Oh gosh.
You know, it's like, okay, I bought a drink. I just bought a drink there. You know.
69 420.
Drinking a corn dog. Yeah.
Did you see that the price of the Tesla was lowered to 69 420 on purpose?
So stupid.
It's funny.
So stupid.
It's funny. All right. Plug-in. What is your favorite plug-in?
Does X Particles count?
Yeah.
Yes. Sure. Yes, it does.
Yeah. Does Redshift count?
It does.
It technically does, but
yeah, I would say X Particles and Submit to Deadline plugin.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what about headphones? You've got some interesting headphones on, I think. What do you got?
Yeah. So these are the Sennheisers, the HD25s. So they're classic. They're a classic headphone. They're actually this version's a little less robust than the original ones. They were like there's some real like heavy duty pieces. These kind of feel a little light, but they're one of the lightest headphones you can ever get, and they're like studio monitor headphones, so you can like move, like you can just move an ear back.
Cool.
Right. And then they got the double kind of like split if you want to split that, and then so what's crazy about them is how easy they are to repair. Like the last pair I had for I think like 12 years. And then these ones, you can just, there's like literally like you can like solder the wire, replace a wire, just order a wire. It's pretty neat.
That's cool. What are those again?
The Sennheisers the HD25s. And then go ahead.
No, these are the HD 280 Pros here, and they do that same thing where you can turn, you can turn one ear or something, which I really like that because sometimes you just want to do this thing where you put it up. Live broadcast and stuff. They just look goofy on your head.
When you got one hand on the mixer and the other hand like on your earphone.
Well, see, that's good right there. That's the jam. The thing that I don't like is I've shown this before, but the way that it looks on your head is awful. This is why I don't wear them on the show.
You look like that guy with the big horns. What's that old '80s movie with Tom Cruise and the
I want to say Labyrinth, but it's not Labyrinth.
No.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, it's gonna drive me nuts.
Yeah.
You can Google it.
Yeah, I am.
It's Tim Curry that played the bad guy, right?
Yeah.
Do you
Legend.
Legend.
Classic. Yeah.
Do you have another pair of headphones too that you were bringing?
Yeah, I have two others. I have like my running headphones or my gym headphones, and those are just like they're like the Apple not Apple Pro things, but the Beats by Dre, like the over the ear thing.
That's what I have for running, and they work very well for running.
They do, and they sound really good. And then I really enjoy on like traveling like airplanes are those Sony the MX 3000s or whatever, the noise canceling ones.
Mm-hmm.
Real. They're unreal. Like
Yeah.
you don't realize how much even just background noise is on a plane until you like turn these things. You're like,
yeah, right.
what? Yeah. So those are my headphones, my headphone breakdown.
I've fallen asleep. I have the Bose, and I've fallen asleep on an airplane before, and they've died, which sucks because you're mid-sleep, and all of a sudden they shut off, and it's like, it's like all this noise.
Yeah.
Ah, dang it.
Yeah. I used to go to bed with just like normal wired headphones, like little Apple shitty headphones in, and listen to like Headspace as I go to sleep. Do you guys ever listen to Headspace? It's like a meditation app. It's awesome. They have sleep casts. So it's literally it's like bedtime stories for adults. It's just like it's literally just like they're painting like a narrative as you're going to sleep.
Right.
Cool.
And it's like they'll have like background noise, and it'll be like, and you're sitting on the beach, and da da da. And you're like, oh, and the sand is, and they'll describe things really thoroughly. So all you're doing is like you're visualizing.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about your day. And then all of a sudden I would like wake up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I got headphones like wrapped around my face. Like
It'd be funny if like halfway through, like once you've possibly drifted off to sleep, they start just getting weird.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
Well, what'll happen? Yeah, what's crazy is what'll happen is they'll have these moments of like silence, and you'll just hear the background noise for a while, and then they'll come back, and then they'll start talking more. And sometimes that works, but sometimes it actually like pulls you back out of your
right.
Yeah.
And then a shark with legs comes out of the sand. And, yeah.
We used to listen to Dark Side of the Moon anytime I would fall asleep. You know, it was a great thing to fall asleep to until it got to time. And then it'd wake you up immediately with all the alarms and stuff.
Yeah.
Right. I also listen to a lot of there's a couple Spotify soundtracks, like the Hans Zimmer playlist. That's a really good one. If you ever just want to like listen to some like kind of like half like movie soundtracks that are like anything from like Interstellar, but then he also does like classical music as well. So that's a good little if you're looking for something that's kind of in between, that's a good one.
And what about on your phone? What about your favorite go-to app, like muscle memory?
Muscle memory.
Yeah.
Oh, Yahoo Finance.
That's pretty
All right,
good. Okay.
that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we talk about that enough in our industry, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you have an iPhone?
I do. Yep.
See, so I use Robinhood.
Okay.
You know, and they've got a little like app, like a little widget. You know.
Oh, okay.
It's
Sweet.
nice.
Oh, the widget. So
like I just pull out my phone and I can immediately see that I'm down.
That your stonks are down.
On my stonks. Yeah.
The iPhone's crazy though, because when you look at your stats at the end of the week, man, I'm like, it's not even so much the screen time that worries me. It's like how much I just pick it up. You know, it's like it's just be like, oh, you picked up your phone 37 times, and I'm like, what?
It tells you that how many times you pick it up.
So, yeah, because that's how it like
that's
how it knows to turn the screen on, right? When you look at it, you flip it over, just the movement. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. What does yours say, Matt?
Let's see all my activity.
Let's go to settings here. Let's do a check.
I mean, my most used thing is TikTok.
Of course.
Because I'll spend the last hour or two of my day laying in bed watching TikTok. You know, it's TikTok and Reddit are my biggest things. You know, they get me.
Where is it under again in the options to look it up?
It's just screen time, right? Just settings and then screen time.
Dave, what does yours say?
Are we looking at week or day?
Let's look at today so far. Well, you could do it last week or today.
Well, yeah, today it says I've used it 59 minutes. Where do you see the pickup part though?
See that.
Oh, here's pickups from today. 34 pickups today.
Yeah. See all activity, isn't it?
I'm gonna go to the week though. My daily average was only an hour and 43 minutes.
Oh gosh. Pickups today, 95.
Wow.
Yeah. 107.
My first pickup was at 5:54 a.m.
Don't look at that. It's depressing. Yeah. So,
oh man, that's hardcore.
But it's good. It's something that just get it away from you.
It's, you know what, here, number of notifications though was 129 today. That's because I keep my Slack on, you know, so anytime I'm clearing out that, it's going to give me a pickup, right?
Slack, emails.
Yeah.
Do you need Slack on though all day?
I don't, but like, it's weird. I kind of do, because I feel like because I spent one time where there was one time where I basically, I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. Right. Because I was trying to be productive and I turned it off. I was like, I'm going to turn off notifications from now on. And for 2 weeks, I felt like I was completely out of the loop, you know, right. Because it wasn't a constant, like Slack's one of those things where if it's not constantly reminding me that things are going on, that conversations are being had, you know, I will forget that it even exists, right. You know, unless I need to go there for a specific reason. Like, I like being a part of the conversations. I like seeing what's going on in all the different channels and then chiming in whenever, you know, right. And it's like, but if I don't see those conversations, I forget that it exists, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think forgetting that it exists sometimes is a fantastic thing.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. But there are certain times where it's like, okay, I'm so busy. These Slack notifications are annoying me, and then I'll snooze it. I'll snooze it for like an hour or 2 hours, or even until the next day. Like every time before the show, I snooze it for 2.5 hours. You know.
Did you watch that Social Dilemma documentary?
I will.
Yeah, it's nothing mind-break or ground-breaking.
Not stuff you don't know, but it is still.
But the way that's presented is pretty interesting, and the two stats were like the level of computing power that's like escalated in the last like 5 years. It's like this chart that starts off really slow, and then remember that, David, just goes like this, and it keeps zooming out, and in the beginning it's flat, and then it just like so. Yeah. It's like we're trying to adapt to this technology that's just like spitting stuff at us. Yeah. The suicide rate in teenagers was really crazy. Yeah. They were showing the timelines of when like Facebook had been around for an entire teenager's life, and when the suicide rate started just like going through the roof. Yeah. But the phrase that stuck with me, that I know it's so obvious, is it's a tool. When we picture our phones like, oh, it's like a tool to help us be productive. It's to do all this stuff with, right? Yeah. But they said, a tool is something that sits on a shelf.
It's passive.
When you're ready to use it, it's used for one thing, or it's used for a certain thing.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like a tool is not something that's you're always having to like latch onto for reasons that you don't know. So it's kind of like in this relationship, we're the tool and the phone's using us.
Yeah. Because the bike doesn't go say, hey, you need to ride me. Come ride me.
Yeah. It's always like we're on the shelf and the phone's like, and we're like into our phone right every time. So yeah.
I mean, I always knew I was a tool.
Ding. You need a ding for that. There you go. Yeah. Okay, last question.
Sure.
Favorite life hack. And Mitch Myers is turn the toaster on its side for some bomb-ass grilled cheese.
That's
Mitch Myers. Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have anything cool like that. I would say take 10 minutes. Like I find 10 minutes of meditation every day gets me 2 extra hours.
Nice.
10 minutes of meditation gets you 2 extra hours?
Wow. Yeah. Just the level of focus. And it might take you like a week of meditation to do it 10 days in a row or 7 days in a row.
Yeah.
And it just, the level of distraction, like the level of, like not phone distractions, but the level of like thought distractions where you're kind of like anxiety. Like there's two states. I think it's like worrying either about what's in the past or what's in the future. And I think what meditation does is it just allows you to see those things and they just come and go. You're not like latching onto them and then becoming distracted by them. You're like, oh, but what about that thing that's coming up? You're like, well, that's not right now.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's how you kind of, you may not physically get 2 more hours out of the day, but you'll get 2 hours of like more focus, more free thought. Yeah. Right. You're not just getting carried away by your thoughts constantly.
Yeah. So it's a good one.
it's physiological too. Like it's a
You're
physiological.
not the only person to say meditation.
Oh
Yeah.
It actually comes up more than any other life hack.
Yeah.
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 It's nuts. Yeah.
On a similar line, I bought the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F,
Yeah, yeah. It's downstairs
so,
on our
like,
table right now. Yeah.
Yeah, so like the thing is, I didn't read through it the whole way. I
got
just
distracted.
like,
Got
well,
distracted.
no,
Totally
not so
understand.
much.
You didn't give
It
enough
wasn't
of enough.
that. It was that, like, within the first 2 chapters, it's like, okay, I get where you're going with this, and you're coming off as kind of pretentious. So I'm gonna take what I can from the first 2 chapters, and I'm gonna live my life by that. So I'm good. But I mean, it's nice. It's like you just need it was just a gentle push reminder saying, hey, don't get caught up in these loops of, worry and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, find the things that are most important in your life. That's all I needed to hear. And it's like, okay, you know what? You're right. I need to stop worrying so much about what Trump did that day and worry about the most important things in my life, which are my wife and kids.
That's why, like all that stuff was still happening when we were younger, right?
Yeah.
Like all the politics was still happening.
I feel like it wasn't this bad though.
But what's making it bad?
Social media.
Yeah.
It's our level of awareness.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Like who knows what was going on? It could have been way worse. It's just that now like everything's like here. So I think another good book, The Power of Habit is a good book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to one called or not listening to one, sorry, I'm reading one called The One Thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. It talks about like the 80-20 rule, and like you were talking about, Dave, your to-do list.
Mm-hmm.
It's like if you have a to-do list, and you talk about the 80-20 rule applied to that to-do list, that 80% of your results are going to come from 20% of that list. Well, maybe you only need 3 things or 4 things, right? Or whatever, 2 things. If you have 10 things, you need 2 things.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you take that rule and apply it again to the 2 or 3 things that's on that list, then you really have to make some hard decisions.
Yeah.
And it's like the similar thing, like Eat That Frog and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good book too. So yeah, I think you should add what's your favorite book to the list.
It's actually favorite life hack / book, isn't it?
Or it's app / book.
Oh, app
technically,
book.
if people can't think of an app.
Yeah. So
books are. I like books when I can take the time to read them.
Yeah.
There's a
book. It's freelance and business and stuff. This one.
Oh, nice.
Freelance and business and stuff. Literally.
The Chutzpah.
Have you ever bought the I don't know how often it comes out, but it's a good reference for any designer or any creative is the Ethical Guide to Pricing.
No, I haven't heard of that one.
It's epic. Yeah. It's the Ethical Guide to Business and Pricing or something, but it's like they actually take like statistics, they take like stuff and put it in a way that's like, this is what you should charge.
Graphics Artists Guild Handbook of Pricing and Ethical Guidelines.
There you go. Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got like an illustration on the front of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really helpful. It still is when I sometimes get like an inquiry, like one was, we need an animation and we need this, and now I have someone to help me with that. I have a project manager, but back in the day when I was like doing a lot of that on my own and could handle it all, I would go to that and it would be like a quick reference for like, okay, well, what does a half-page editorial illustration cost, or this. So yeah,
that book is very hard to read the title to on that cover.
Mm-hmm.
It's very busy.
That's why I just know it as the Ethical Guide to Pricing. I can't remember all the other words that are on it.
It's like trying to read the title of any product on Amazon.
It's like
50 words.
There's so much going on, and then they've hidden the title within the artistic elements, and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's a good reference. It's a good like pull off the shelf and be like, oh, like, okay, yeah, I have a bunch of like pages that are bookmarked and be like, oh yeah, that type of request or blah blah blah. So what's your favorite piece of software outside of 3D Creative and not Slack? Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Do I use any? I don't think I do.
No.
I
mean, does it?
I mean, I'm on my phone all the time. TikTok. That's it.
Yeah, it's probably TikTok then, right?
Yeah.
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 I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I play games, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably like, you know, Steam.
You don't have like one that you kind of like you're good at, but you don't use a lot. But when you use it, like you're like, is it Audition? I don't know. You know, like one of those ones that's a little off the radar.
So I have been using Audition since it was Cool Edit Pro 2.0.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, wow. So you know how to use that shit.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I did back in the day, but other than that, yeah, I don't know. I'm getting a drum set for Christmas. I'm excited about that.
Like a real one, or is it like the?
No, it's electronic
digital
drum set.
Nice.
It's like
I
pads.
gotta run to the
and stuff
restroom.
like
I'll
that.
be back. Y'all keep going.
Yeah, you're fine.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
I am excited about that. I'll probably pick up Ableton as well. You know,
Yeah,
and
I saw that in the chat.
I've wired my whole room, my whole office, and ran wires into my closet to where I've actually got like voiceover and audio, like vocals, if I wanted to do it.
Is it all like the foam on the
walls? It does
walls
have the foam on it, yeah. So I put the
Nice.
foam all over the stuff, all over the walls and stuff. I
Yeah.
took out the shelves for my closet. I've wanted to do it my whole life.
Yeah.
You know, in every house that I've ever rented or owned.
Yeah.
You know, and so like it's cool. I just haven't done it yet. You know, I got all the guitars hanging on the wall. I got the drum set coming. I can play bass guitar. I can sing. It's like, but
And just like put it all together.
Yeah, I don't have time.
Did you watch Did you watch the Garth Brooks documentary on Netflix?
No. Is it?
I know
good?
it's cool. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just cool. Like to know the story about him. I'm not a big fan of like. I just grew up because my dad listened to him, but I was just like, like where he came from and like he just kind of came out of nowhere, and the level of accomplishment, the shit that he did, like the whole like that New York show. Anyways, yeah, but it's cool to listen to him like just even sing and play live, because you're like, oh wow, like he's not a sham, like you can just like really belt it out.
Yeah, he can sing. He can sing. Some Garth Brooks back in the day.
Yeah, we all got friends in low places, right? Ding, where's my ding?
There you go.
So it's like your own little like recording studio then.
Yeah. You know, I've always wanted to do it, but I don't know. I just never had the time. What's been hard is like I set all this stuff up, and you know, with COVID happening, it's like it completely threw my world for a loop. Because then the wife was home all the time, and the kids were home all the time, and then we had another kid in January. So it's like, crazy. You know, we're not putting the kid in daycare yet, so it's like we're having babysitters, and then the work just picked up like crazy this year. So it's like normally I would do some of the fun stuff during my work day, you know. And so, like, I'm looking forward to getting back to that, to where I'll have a little bit of time to where I can be creative or do something again, you know, once all this stuff is over with. Yeah. You know? I don't know.
That's pretty epic. It's really epic, actually, to have your own recording studio.
Yeah.
Dave, what about you? You have like a secret piece of software that you're like, oh, I love this program. I never get to use it. But when you jump into it, you're like...
Well, Ableton is one of those. I love jumping into Ableton, but I just never have a chance to do it. Trying to think of what else.
Around with Touch Design the other day.
Yeah, Touch Designer. Working on my interactive pool table, but just don't have enough time for it right now. There's just too much going on. I'm looking forward to doing that. I might look into laser projectors just to see what I could do with that. With that, and you know, I've got to connect and everything set up. I've run some Touch Designer tests, and I've got all my stuff basically working. Now I just have to design and mount and do all that stuff for the table. So I'll get to it maybe next year. We'll see.
Next year.
Eventually. It's going to be in your brain. It'll be on your to-do list, and then one day you're just going to be like, all right, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And then you'll spend the whole weekend working on it, and you'll finish it. It'll be cool.
Do you write your to-do list down, Dave?
Yeah,
like you write it down, or do you have it like on an app?
No, I use Todoist.
Is that an app?
It's an app.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great. And I went through the whole what is it called? The GTD method and all of that. Super complicated.
What's the GTD? What's GTD?
Getting things done method.
Oh yeah. Have you tried the bullet journal method?
No, haven't tried that. Haven't heard of that one.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. I use it. It's the notion of having to rewrite things down. You're like, okay, fuck it, I'm not doing this.
Right.
You're like, okay, this is obviously not worth doing because I've written it down 3 days in a row.
Yes.
I'm not writing that down again.
I have heard of that, and I want to say I heard about it from Nick Campbell a long time ago, and that is a nice method of doing it. I have gotten more in the practice of, okay, if something has come back to my to-do list a couple times, put it on a long term, like the pool thing, right? Right now I can't get to it, so it is on my list, and when it comes up, if it comes up, a lot of stuff will be like, in Todoist, you'll say push to next week, and there's a lot of things that end up getting pushed to Mondays all the time. And once I see that happens a couple times, I'm like, okay, put it in the long-term list, so it's not gone. You can revisit it, you can review. But I used to be way too heavy into it, like doing a classification for each one, category.
You're spending more time writing things down than you are getting stuff done.
So now it's the concept of an inbox, right? Which is just, if it's in your brain, get it into the inbox. That's the biggest thing. And all the GTD programs do that. Todoist does it, but right now, like, I have things in my inbox, and I'll go through daily and I'll sort that and put them where they need to go. And it's very simple for me now. It's either our our animation company, it's Mograph, or it's something personal. Those are my only categories. And
that's nice. I got like 10 different categories right now.
You just put that, and you put the name, and it's just nice to have. It's one of those life hacky type things where, they have a widget for a new inbox item. So if I think of something, I just hit that widget on my phone, get it out of my brain, go about my day, and next time I review the next morning, I'll be like, okay, I need to figure out when that's going to happen.
Nice.
I just use a sticky pad. The Windows sticky pad. I keep track of all my current jobs, my jobs that are waiting for approvals or emails or something, what I've got out to my freelancers, potential jobs. I've got it all on a list, and like I don't know.
I just like being able to see.
I don't need to mark anything down. If it becomes an emergency, I just take care of it.
You just get up at 6 in the morning and feed your baby, and you're like, okay, fire.
I can't tell you the number of times I've done it too, where I'm like, and it's so weird because, like, the shower thoughts. It's like right when you wake up, you're so clear-minded and stuff. So because I totally would have forgotten about that if I had just woken up and just gone to work. Yeah. But it's like, because you're able to think and stuff like that, I go through my day and I'm like, okay, crap, I got to get this done.
I have things under though that are like, do your budget every 1st and 15th. Go through your budget. Yeah. Make sure you get the bills paid.
See, I've got that in my head too, but it's do your budget when you've gotten enough notifications from Citibank saying you owe this much on your credit card, and I'm like, okay, better pay my budget because I got to pay that credit card bill.
Yeah.
That's urgent budget.
Yeah.
And things like the person who hit and run on me, I'm checking in with my detective who's trying to get all their information, and honestly, she's a little slow at it, so I have to check in with her every once in a while. So every week I have accident. Okay, check in with her.
You got like a PI?
What's that?
Private investigator?
No, it's a detective at the station who is like tracking down the insurance information of this person.
I thought you meant like huge ordeal. I thought it was gonna be like some drama story where you had like a PI, like someone pretend like they hurt themselves and they're mowing their lawn or something, and you got your PI busting them.
Yeah, no, maybe I need to do that to find this person, figure out all the information. But other things on here like these end up being some of the long-term things like Canvas Champ, who I get my Canvas stuff through. They send every year on your birthday, they say have a free Canvas print on us. So I have to think of something to go on that canvas. So on my list for November 1st, if I look at my personal stuff, it says Canvas Champ. So I can think, oh, okay, I could use it for a birthday present, a Christmas present for somebody.
Never use it.
That thing. I did it last year. I took the.
So he got an email from like Walgreens or something saying, we're gonna get rid of your pictures that you've saved online. Here, have 20 free pictures, right? He's like, all right. So he went and printed 20 free pictures and then forgot about it for like 2 weeks to go pick them up. It's like 1 hour photos that he could have gotten. And it's like,
it's like on your birthday when you get like free Starbucks.
Right.
You're like, oh, I got to go get that Starbucks. And you don't get it. And you're like, you feel like you've been done wrong by. You're like, oh, how come I can't? Oh,
it just reminds me of The Simpsons where he goes to get all his free birthday stuff and he goes to the ice cream place and he's like, 1 free birthday sundae, please. And it's like super small and he slaps it on the counter and he's like, eat it and get out.
Exactly. It's like, come on, they're giving you free stuff. Stop complaining.
Yeah. And I didn't put pickup photos on my to-do list and that's why I forgot about them.
Yeah.
You know?
That or it really wasn't that important.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, hopefully, I hope that next time we chat that you know Matt, you've made some headway in your recordings.
Yeah, I hope so too.
And I hope that the pool table is out of the prototype stage or whatever you want to call it.
What should we look forward to you? What you're doing in the future?
Man, that's a good question. I think it would be just looking forward to some new personal work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and seeing just seeing some cool things. I know some cool stuff's happening in the works right now, but for me, it's just getting back to the stuff that got me here. I think is because I've put a lot of that on hold for now to kind of get this other thing kind of lifted off the ground. Mm-hmm. And then once that's in a good place, you guys know what it's like, right? Like when you're juggling two things. Mm-hmm. But being creative is at the core, is my core. And I just want to make sure that I'm making room for that rock in my jar and then everything else can kind of fit around it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So new personal work.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Well, we appreciate you being on and taking the time to hang out with us and chat and all of that. And if people want to find you online, where can they find you? What are all your things?
All the things. I say first, if you want to hit up avantform.com, you can go there and check it out. I think we're really close to. I'm getting text messages being like, "Oh, everything's processed. Database should be updated." So maybe in the next day or two, hit that up. That's avantform.com. And then for me, man, just people know where to find me. I'm on Instagram, and that's kind of like my space that I spend most of my time on.
Raw
a little
bit
on Twitter. Yeah, raw and rendered on both of those. So you can just Google raw and rendered. Hopefully you don't get anything weird popping up. But I really appreciate the time today. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and I'll probably, I think I'm gonna see you on Thursday anyway. So
that's right. Hopefully I'll be there.
Yeah. So we're gonna get out of here. Oh gosh, I have a 3:00 call I gotta be on. Speaking of, gotta talk to Armando. All right, let's see.
You can leave us a review, rate us on iTunes.
Yes. Sorry, my notes were in the wrong place. See what happens. See what happens. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review. You can also subscribe on your podcatcher of choice. Helps get our ratings up. The newsletter is available. Make sure that you get subscribed to that. It goes out once a month, give or take. You never know. You can say you've been there, done that. Got the T-shirt with the Mograph logo tee. The Paul Babb Feel the Babb 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. The Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee, which you should get because it's getting cold, especially up there in Canada.
It's cold outside.
And then, of course, there's the That Render is Fire shirt, which you're only allowed to wear, ironically, unless you're shams.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, mograph.com. Make sure you check us out there. Make sure you send in your things for Halloween. Make sure you're ready to call in with your Skype on Halloween or the day before Halloween, the 30th, with EJ and Aryev. That'll be a lot of fun. And check out that article coming out this Wednesday as well. That'll be cool.
And go vote.
And go vote. Nice. Please go vote.
Yeah, please go vote. For the love
of God. And that's about it.
Unless you're voting for Trump, then don't.
And that
Both
about
third party.
yeah, void were prohibited. And that wraps it up. Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
I'm Joey.
Have a good one.
Later, yo.
All right, stand by. Stand by.
Which episode?